Suzanne Harris, I read Joe's.
Okay, this is the city council regular meeting. First item on the agenda is mayor and council members reports on current events. Start down here with council member Mayor Watson.
Thank you. It's been a busy couple of months. We didn't leave in December, so there's a lot of stuff that's been happening. I attended the staff holiday family dinner. I think that was the first one we did for families, and it was nice. It was sweet. It's always nice to see little kids and have fun. Attended the thank you gathering as well at we always call it the restaurant.
Times Square.
Times Square. My husband calls it Streets of New York, and I always argue. Anyhow, always good food, nice company. Thank you very much for that. And I also attended the charrette that Randy did. That was very well, very, very well done. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. And that's basically all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think you're going to hear a lot of rinse and repeat from all of us, so I'll just highlight on a few others. Tree lighting ceremony, first time ever, really well done. I think Tricia hit the nail on the head. And there were some sound issues that I know we'll take and we'll fix for next year, but that went really well. The annual parade was, I mean, I've only been here for 12 years, but I can't ever recall that, whatever that crowd was that we had. I don't know if there's a way to quantify it, but it was the largest crowd. And I thought the vendor setup at the end of the parade was really good too. There was and the food trucks were busy, the local restaurants were busy. I haven't had to hear a complaint from anybody on that. And then the last thing I'll touch on was just the Patriot All-America golf tournament was held from the 28th to the 31st and continues to get bigger and better this year. There was an additional opening night concert this year that was well attended, and then the actual golf and another. But yeah, it was been busy. So thank you.
Vice Mayor, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
My husband and I both had COVID on the tree lighting ceremony, so we watched it from our car, parked in the parking lot. And I thought, some people have the capability of broadcasting through a radio station. It'd be kind of fun to broadcast that for the night, for the event, and let people who, like me, don't want to get out and infect the world.
Councilmember Al.
Thank you. I was reflecting as I was kind of preparing for this, because I'm coming up on, and with you, our first full year of council. Like this council meeting last year, I was taking my oath, so it was really special. I wanted to just share that when we were sitting in our council cars, like waiting to go in the parade, I was kind of overcome. I had this moment where I was like, this is coming full circle. Like, I have raised my children here. I have done all these like different things, and I've walked in the parade. My kids have walked in the parade with different things and different organizations. And now my son was with me, and my husband too. But it was so special to show my children. Like, this is kind of the next part of public service and my life of public service. So it was really special, and I'm pretty sure our driver was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm emotional because this is very special to me." So I just wanted to share that. It really felt like community, and I think that I feel like community is important, and that event just felt so special as a community. So I just wanted to share that. And then one thing I wanted to share too is that Paige and I had the opportunity to take a civic leader trip to Nellis Air Force Base. That was really amazing. It had been facilitated through Luke Air Force Base, and there were some other civic leaders from West Valley cities, and one of our Maricopa County supervisors was there as well. And we had the opportunity to be on the flight line, watching aircraft take off. They were doing different like a red flag exercise, I believe. We were able to hear briefings on the Warfare Center and the aggressor units. It's really a really neat opportunity, and so given that our community has a lot of ties to Luke Air Force Base, a lot of our residents here also serve at Luke Air Force Base, so I thought that that was really an amazing trip, very well worth it. And then also I wanted to, talk about the personnel, appreciate the personnel that helped from the 56th Fighter Wing. We had Lieutenant Colonel Dudley, whose wife is on our DRB, and then we also had Mark James, who kind of helped facilitate along with Fighter Country Foundation.
Echoing Councilman James, Councilman Allen, thank you to the city for Christmas, or just the whole holiday season. The city looked beautiful, tree lighting, the parade. I think my kids think it's a worthy trade-off that I have to come to all these meetings and they get to ride the parade. But I know they had a great time, and I love seeing all people, not only from our city, but from the surrounding cities come into our community, because we do something special. So, to the city staff, I know it takes a lot of work. Thank you. The only other update I have is I had an opportunity to attend the Colorado River Water Users Association annual conference in Las Vegas. It's a meeting of the 7 basin states that all share the Colorado River. Really, the message I can tell you is the situation on the Colorado River this year is dire. The 7 states are not getting along, and it's really going to take the federal government to step in and tell us how we're going to share our water. Arizona probably has the largest delegation that shows up to these meetings. We are extremely dependent on Colorado River water as a state. We in Litchfield Park ourselves are not directly impacted. We don't have any Colorado River water resources that we depend on, but the cities around us do, so it will impact us. Cuts on the Colorado River and our allocation will greatly impact our state. We've used most of our allocation already. So whatever happens on the Colorado River, the cuts for Arizona will be real, whether they're felt by ag or municipalities or other water users. The cuts to Arizona will hurt.
Councilmember Blair.
There's no snowpack in the north.
To echo the other commentary, the holidays here were amazing this year. I think the city looked the best I remember seeing it. It took us a little work to get there, but there was a lot of effort that was put in, and I think the lighting and the spirit that was put out there was amazing. The Mavericks did a great job on that, along with the city. Best turnout. That's one of my favorite events of the year. Just getting to see those kids and to play golf with them and talk to them and see the energy that's inside them and the spirit of Folds of Honor and what they're able to take out and share the stories. It really means something, and I think it really embodies this city with the military aspect and tying the kids and the wigwam and everything together. It's a great event. Trish, you did a great job on the parade. It was the best parade I've been part of in the 6 years I've been on council. Justin, what you said was perfect. The way it went through town and ended up with the village at the end is the best we've done at any point. It's great that we have the park open and we're able to start to utilize the space the way it's designed to do. And I'm just glad to see it all come to fruition. So great job getting that put together and making that come together. Nothing but positive comments on the parade. And that's really all I have.
Mayor online.
Mayor, can you hear me? Mayor, can you hear me?
He's real friendly. I heard it for a second.
Okay, I can hear you. I've got too many buttons to flip.
Comments to the council, Mayor?
What's that?
Report on current events. Do you have comments?
Yeah, I do have just a couple of comments. I want to share with the council for just a quick note. Even though it was a holiday season and we had a lot of time off, we did have a meeting, which saved us saved several hours. I do want you to know that during this holiday, in between these last 2 meetings, I actually went back and just took a look at what was on my calendar during this session. I don't typically give you guys a report on everything that goes on, but I want to point out just as an opening to this new year, that I counted up between 18 and 20 separate meetings that were outside of the city hall. So not including meetings that I've had in city hall with city staff or other council members. I represented the city in 18 meetings that were discussing or dealing with issues that are important either directly or indirectly to the city. There's a whole variety of things going on with data centers. You think, well, we're not going to have to worry about data centers because we're in Litchfield Park. Well, that's true, except that the power requirements for data centers and the water requirements for data centers are going to impact us. Just the transmission lines, if you discount all the extra power that needs to be paid for, all the generation equipment that needs to be paid for, just the power lines alone are going to impact our rate base. So there's been a whole variety of things. Another one is state budget, and the fact that our budget's going to be cut because the state budget is in trouble this year. And so we're going to not only lose directly because our share of state shared revenue is going to go down, but also we stand to lose if they cut our share of state shared revenue. So there's been a lot of things going on that indirectly impact the city, many of them not positive. But there were two meetings that I wanted to highlight on that actually were very positive that the council should know about. One of those meetings was with Mark Isis, from the superintendent of Agua Fria. Their building is going along according to plan. They're gonna have it finished so the academy will be able to actually accept students for this fall semester, and they are interviewing students now for the academy. And they're being very selective, so they're not intending to necessarily fill 400 seats. They're only intending to fill the number of seats that they can get qualified students for. So they're going to follow that same policy going forward. So the academy will have very special kids in it, which will make the academy a better place and more of an asset for us. Secondly, the Performing Arts Center will open. They have that back on schedule, at least within reason. It's 2 or 3 weeks behind the actual academy. And at their grand opening, there will be 2 weeks of presentations or performances in the Performing Arts Center. There is going to be a special group of performances that are being put together in many cases by Danny Zalesko. So he's going to be bringing some named type individuals in here for performances, and the school is going to be bringing in other groups, so that for 2 weeks there will be a whole grand opening process that's going to go on at the Performing Arts Center. We'll get those schedules out as soon as we get them, as soon as they get to the point where they're finalized by Agua Fria. But it will be an opportunity to showcase Litchfield Park and to showcase the Hilltop. And our library will be done. Hopefully a lot of the landscaping up there will be done. So it's going to be a great story for the city to show to people that we've made some real accomplishments on that hilltop. The second meeting that was really important was we met with Sun Health. And Mr. Vice Mayor, you're going to be happy to know that the president of Sun Health now agrees with our position that commercial will work in the West Valley, and they need more commercial in their project because they woke up to the fact that infrastructure costs that they need to build the infrastructure that they need for this development has gone up 50 to 60% minimum. So it confirms what we went through in building Litchfield Square, and it also confirms that those prices, while some of them may have come down, the pricing that Sun Health is able to get is still much more than what their original budgets were to build out that community. Because of that, they're going to be coming back and changing their plans so that they utilize their corners better. They're going to utilize for more commercial space, with the understanding that the commercial space has got to be a fit for the community, both our community and the new Loma community. So it's going to have standards to it, and he understands that and fully supports it. We also talked specifically about citing a hotel small hotel, maybe a suites business, to serve Luke Air Force Base, which is greatly needed now. There are a tremendous number of visitors that come to Luke that have nowhere to stay on the West Valley that's appropriate for them. So there's been, the city's been approached in the past by people who want to build a small hotel to help service that market. So Sun Health is looking at that use specifically, and will probably be putting in a small hotel, maybe a small conference center up on the north side of their property. So that's very good news again for the city, because the sales tax revenue from this development will pay the cost of having the development, and it's a good situation for the city going forward. So that's a quick update. Sorry to take your time because I know you're running a little behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a few things I want to hit on real quick. We didn't have a meeting last month. There's been so many things that we've done since the last meeting we did have between now that we've attended. The council's been extremely busy. There's been a lot going on. I was honored to do the flag raising for the Space Force. Council members Alan and Claire were there for that presentation. The Christmas parade is mentioned. It was fantastic. My grandkids, they call me every year to make sure they got an invite to ride in the parade. It was bigger than ever. It was great having it at the park, as you mentioned. Ending there was great. When we make the turn to come to the park, though, I'm not sure how that needs to be worked out somehow. It's a little tight for some of those large vehicles that are trying to get down that turn lane to turn from going north to west. Mavericks Patriot Golf Tournament, you mentioned, another phenomenal event. Indian Arts Festival. There's a car show once a month by Papa Falls on Honeysuckle. I've attended that the last few months and actually brought a couple of cars over there. It's actually great because all these people, 90% of the people in this car show live in Litchfield Park, and I didn't know there were this many nice old cars actually being hidden in garages around here. It's from 8 to 11 on the Sundays. If you get bored, you can wander down. We had West Park had the governor's State of the State speech at Phoenix Raceway. Council members Alan, the mayor, myself, staff were there for that event. We attended council members, Mayor Watson, myself, Councilmember Allen, Mayor attended a Litchfield Park presentation on the potential uses of all the city buildings. Like I mentioned before, we sat in the back and sat around, kind of quietly watched to see what was going on, kind of get some one-on-one feedback as to what the citizens want for those buildings. I missed the Litchfield House tour today the Historical Society did, but I've got it rescheduled for next week, I believe, the week after next maybe. I'm going to go up and take a look inside the house, and Donahue is putting together tours up there, and I think it's kind of a fundraising thing, which ought to work out well. There's a concert at the Wigwam. I was a little surprised by that, the concert Sunday. It wasn't as well attended as I've seen concert attendance before. Whether it was the quality of the band or the type of music or what. The weather was great. It wasn't the weather that kept people away, but something kept people away. We had about maybe 60-70% of what I would say is normal attendance for some reason. There's a lot coming up. The Drop Derby is Saturday. We got a public hearing on new construction projects on the 27th. Litchfield Park Historical Society, PW Litchfield Historical Society, or however we pronounce it, Lisa. Their annual meeting is the 29th. Registrations are open for the Litchfield Fun Run. It's great to hear that the PW Litchfield Heritage Center is progressing and actually is going to start here sometime soon. That is something I've worked on for, seems like a lifetime. I will be really, really happy to see something happen on that project. That's all I've got. I've got more notes, but city manager's report on current events. Can you give us maybe a highlight?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Yes, sir. Mayor and Council, just a few things. The report is in your packet. I would echo the comments on the holidays, on everything. The parade, the tree line, everything went great. And particularly thank you to Tricia and her staff, but also the public works staff as well. Because when things go well, most people don't appreciate the logistics it takes to make things go well. And they did a great job. And parade, anybody that's ever done a parade, there's a lot of planning, a lot of work that goes into parade to make one successful. So they did a great job with that. I know for me, my family's in the parade as well, and my son was in the back of my truck throwing candy, more throwing it at people's face versus throwing it out, but that's a different conversation. But it amazes me how many people know my son's name right in the parade. That's really fun for me to see that. So anyway, Christmas events were great. I would like to thank you guys, and staff would as well, for our winter closure policy. I think everyone enjoyed that. It's nice for staff to get a break, be with their families for holidays. We certainly appreciate that. I'd also like to introduce someone to you. Troy, if you would stand up for a second. This is Mr. Troy White. Troy is our interim public works director, and he's doing a great job. I'm glad to have him here with us. Troy is on contract with us with IPM and is doing a great job working on public works and with Paige. And thank you, Troy, for being here.
Welcome.
Mayor and council, again, my report's in your packet. I welcome any questions if you have any at this time.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
In your package, you mentioned that Sun Health has an at-risk grading permit for a gathering space.
That's correct.
What is that?
Yes, sir. That is well, actually, if Susie, do you mind speaking? I can talk about the permit. Can you give them a little elevator speech as far as what the building is for?
Vice Mayor Faith and council members, our resident gathering space is a space that we're building. It's about 6,000 square feet. It's behind our health and rehab center, and it will be a place for our residents to gather. Our other communities have a area where about 200 of our residents can gather at one time for various different reasons, and that's is not available at La Loma, so that's what we're building. And we are under construction and just finalizing the last few items needed for full permits.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
Any other questions to the city manager's report? Good.
Under special events, you said that council members Alan and Claire met with Kathy Connect.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think I read further down that you're going to be meeting with Candy Vermillion.
That's correct. Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to see two people go to that meeting, not just one. Okay, good. I feel like when we're meeting with a potential contractor, it's good to have two memories, two questions.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, next item, call to the community. I have two requests to speak. First, I have Carter Wilson. And this is limited. We cannot, you can address us on any non-agenda item, but action taken will be limited to review by staff, asking the matter to refer to future agenda, or responding to criticism. You're not going to criticize us, are you, Carter?
Absolutely not. Mr. Vice Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Carter Wilson. I'm from Litchfield Park. I'm here to let you know that in accordance with the parking agreement that St. Peter's Episcopal Church and the city have regarding Staggs Park, that on Saturday, February 14th, we will limit parking in the church parking lot due to a special event. We're expecting 200 individuals from around the state to be there. And normally the overflow parking is available in the church parking in accordance with our agreement, but part of that agreement allows us to limit it for church event. And we're just letting you know at this point so that recreation services can hopefully notify those sporting events that occur on Saturday morning. We'll close the parking lot to the special event from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. And we've asked for some additional police support, and the mayor and Matthew has said that they will make that available for us.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank you.
I have a request also, I believe it was on an agenda item out of the last meeting, but we're going to let her speak. Susan Plitz, 205 Neoland.
Hello, thank you, everybody. Okay, so I had something to say about the city shed structure line item from the previous meeting. So I've lived in Old Litchfield for almost 30 years, in my current home for almost 9 years. And almost 8 years ago, my husband and I put up a shed on the south side of our backyard property on an existing 8x8 concrete pad. And before doing so, we spoke to the neighbors. We thought that the shed may affect the neighbors on the south side of us at 203 Neolin and the neighbors behind us across the alleyway to the east of us. And both said they did not mind if we put a shed up. And today they still do not care about the shed or mind at all. And I can admit that this is our fault, that we didn't do enough due diligence to know that we needed to get permission from the city to put the shed in our backyard. We didn't think this because there was a previous shed pad in our backyard. And for so many years that I've lived here, there are so many sheds that are up against neighbors' walls, backyards within the city that I didn't think I needed to ask permission. I thought that we were doing our due diligence by speaking to our neighbors directly. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, new neighbors, John Blackwell and his girlfriend Katie Howard, moved into 207 to the north side of us. And in early 2025, they installed a non-permitted parking pad on our property line and then started to trespass on our property to access said pad. I went to the city for help on the trespassing, and the city had John and Katie make a very minor change and gave them an administrative permit to said pad. Since then, John and Katie have made a very frivolous complaint about our backyard shed that is on the opposite side of our property from them. When I spoke to the city about our shed that has been up with no complaint from the city or any other residents for nearly 8 years, I was told that unfortunately the city selectively enforces structural complaints. We tried to do the next right thing and make a variance meeting appointment, but after filling out the paperwork, speaking to and getting over 20 signatures from other residents in my favor, stating that our shed is not a detriment to the city, neighbors, or the character of the city, as well as speaking with many residents who have been residents for longer than I have, and they stated they would not be happy if their sheds would have to be moved or changed. I was told the city's attorney would not permit my variance, and because of that, the city would not permit my variance, even if I paid the money and made a variance meeting appointment to be heard. I think that the city can make a change so that other neighbors cannot use the city's use of selective enforcement to their advantage to harass and retaliate against other neighbors. I think it's silly that sheds or structures that have been up for 5, 10, 20 years with no complaints can be enforced just because of retaliation from other neighbors. Also, I'd hope that the way the residents get variance meetings could somehow be made easier. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is presentations. Stephen Palmer at Hinton Verdicts 2025 audit report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As you mentioned, my name is Steve Palmer. I am an audit partner with Hinton Verdict, and we recently completed the city's audit, and it's absolutely a pleasure for me to be here tonight to report to you on the results of that audit. And just thank you for allowing me to come. Let's see if I can get the clicker to work. There it goes. I would like to stop on this slide for just a minute before we get into the rest of the presentation. Each year, as you know, the city is required to have the financial statements audited. The city is not required to submit the audited financial statements to the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, for their review. The city elects to do that. And it's really another layer of review that the city undergoes that they don't have to. And after the GFOA review, if they don't determine that anything's significantly wrong, they issue this certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. And I'm very pleased to report, and congratulations to Paige, the city again received this report for their 2024 audit. That's not the audit I'm reporting on tonight, but because that one's still under review right now. But each year, the city has received this award. And so congratulations to the city on that. It's quite an accomplishment. Now let's switch to the 2025 audit. In conjunction with the audit, there are several reports that we're required to issue. The first being the independent auditor's report. And it's within this report where we communicate if the city passed or failed the audit, if you will, in layman's terms. It's where we issue our opinion on the financial statements. The opinion that you want is an unmodified opinion, and I'm pleased to report that that is what we did issue. Meaning that after all of our work, after our review of the statements, in our opinion, they present fairly the financial position and the results of the city's operations for fiscal year 2025. The second report that we issue is the report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. This is required by government auditing standards. There are a few different findings that could potentially be issued within this report, depending on the severity. I'm pleased to report that there was nothing that came to our attention that was required to be reported here. The third report that we issued is on state legal compliance. This is where we issue our opinion on whether the city spent highway user revenue fund monies appropriately, whether budgeting practices were properly implemented, those kinds of things. I'm pleased to report the results of our procedures here did not result in anything that was required to be reported. Let's look at the city's finances from a very high level. The total net position of the city was a little over $74 million at the end of the year. Meaning if you were to take all the assets, subtract the liability, that residual amount being the equity, a little over 74 million. And over time, whether this number increases or decreases, it's a good indication of the financial health of the city, whether it's improving or deteriorating. So how did the city do for fiscal year 25? Net position increased by about 8.5 million. Let's look at the capital asset activity. Net capital assets increased by about $6 million in fiscal year 25. The city reported a little over 9 million of capital asset additions and very minimal disposals and about 3 million of depreciation expense. The most significant capital asset additions being the city center project. I'm sure that comes as no surprise. As well, there was a little under 1 million in road projects that occurred during fiscal year 25. Let's look at the city's long-term debt. It was about 33.5 million at the end of the year. And I've just provided here a breakout of what makes up that total 33.5 million. I think what you might be most interested in is that bottom sentence. Overall, the city's long-term debt decreased by 439,000 when you take into account all the activity with long-term debt. But if you have any questions on those significant line items, I'm happy to go over those as well. I think it's really interesting to look at trends over time to see which direction the city is going. So I prepare these 5-year graphs to show the direction the city's heading. This is the general fund. This is the main operating fund of the city. That top line represents the assets. The line just underneath it represents equity, and the bottom line is liabilities. You can see that over the past 5 years, the city has experienced very positive trends with their assets and equity, with liabilities being largely flat. Very positive trend there. And here's the cash for the general fund. It's increased from 15 million to about 31 million in 2025. Here's the revenues and expenditures of the general fund. The blue line being the revenues and the pink line being the expenditures. You can see there was a little bit of bump in revenues this year. That's largely due to the $5 million grant that the city received for the library project. Of course, other things kind of roll up into it. That was the biggest factor. And expenditures, for the most part, very consistent trend, just inflationary increases as you would expect. Here's the streets fund, highway user revenue fund. The pink line is expenditures and the blue line is revenues. You'd expect the revenues to be very consistent as they're funded. They come from state taxes, but the expenditures, you can see they bounce around a little bit, simply depending on the street projects that the city budgets for and undertakes each year. In 2025, there were larger street projects, thus the spike in expenditures. And here's the cash trend, which largely mirrors the expenditure trend. It goes up and down in relation to the expenditures. The city center has had a large amount of activity over the past few years, so I think it's interesting to look at this. This is what the city spent over the past 4 years on the city center project, with a cumulative total of about $42 million as of the end of June 2025. Just wanted to again thank you for the opportunity to provide these services to the city. I also wanted to thank Paige, Matt, and the entire staff here. We ask a lot of questions. We're a real nuisance for a few days while we're here requesting documents, and I appreciate their help. They always get us all the information we need so that we can complete our work efficiently and as thoroughly as possible. One thing I did want to mention, effective the first of the year, our firm Hinton Burdick did merge with another firm called Squire. All of the partners with Hinton Burdick became partners in Squire. All of our staff, professional staff, all of our employees moved over to Squire. We are not anticipating any changes to our clientele, any changes in our fee structure, anything like that. I believe the only difference the city will notice is the letterhead, the name on the letterhead. It will now say Squire instead of Hinton Burdick. And with that, do you have any questions for me tonight that I can answer?
Questions, comments from council? I have one.
Sure.
It's really just a thank you, for the job you've done over the years, and to our staff, Paige and Matthew. You have led us, the information that we have in our packets and we've always had has been astonishing. Better than what the city has ever had, in my belief. I've been sitting here for 22 years. The quality of the work, the recommendations, and everything have just been great. And I'm really proud of the job that you guys have done. And I'm proud of the council also, and the prior councils. We went through massive times when there were pushes to convert our commercially zoned property into residential, and the cost to service residential is huge number of times greater than the cost to just service the commercial. Commercials are revenue centers, and we stayed fast with that. And because of that, and the commercial has grown, our financial situation is the best I have ever seen. And it just looks rosier and rosier, every year. So I thank everybody for that. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you for your report.
Have a good evening.
Next, we have the city manager's annual report. Matthew.
Mayor and Council, my report for 25 and 24 are both in your packet. I welcome questions if there are any at this time.
Questions, comments from council? You must have explained it extremely well. Next, public safety services monthly reports, Goodyear Fire. Go for it.
Good evening. Deputy Chief Tim Wayne standing in for Deputy Chief Ed Paul. I'd like to do like city manager did, like packets you've seen. Any questions? I'll do a quick review of November and December numbers. For the month of November, our total responses were of 68, one of those being a vehicle fire, the most predominantly being medical in nature at 56, one call for service, one good intent, and 5 false alarm calls. Our prevention bureau provided one plan review, one construction permit, and we did 19 occupancy inspections for the month of November. On to December, we saw a spike in calls for the month of December, which seems to be pretty consistent with previous years. 94 total. 2 of those being fires, one trash, one cookie fire, both relatively small in nature. Again, the largest one being medical, 78, one hazardous condition, 3 calls for service, 8 good intents, and 2 false alarm calls. The prevention for December provided 1 plan review, another construction permit, 2 special event inspections, and then ended out with 20 occupancy inspections. So that's the report for December and November. Any questions for me?
I have one. Your December report, number of incidents is the highest number we have ever seen in all the years. Any idea what was going on?
If you look at some of the data on that month in December, we did have a higher number of canceled en route, and then false alarms also bumped those numbers up to where they were a little bit higher. But not, as I went through the rest of the data, there was nothing that stood out as something that concerned me in terms of I could really pinpoint. It was other than the false alarms and the didn't send calls.
Questions, comments from council? Councilman James.
Just unrelated to the reports, just during the Patriot All America, one of the requirements from the Golf Coaches Association requires an amateur non-collegiate player to play, and that rotates every year. And we've had a guy from the Veterans Golf Association who's a Blackhawk pilot, former Blackhawk. But this year the representative was a firefighter from Goodyear, Mark Holstein, and represented himself well and appreciated his involvement. So that was neat.
Yeah, a great honor for Mark.
Yep.
We're very proud of him.
Anything else? The services you guys have rendered have been astonishing. It has been fantastic. So please take that back to your guys.
Yeah, we're proud to serve this community, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Avondale Police, Lieutenant Rios.
Good evening, Council. Sergeant Rabbit filling in for Lieutenant Rios tonight. Go over our November and December numbers. Month of November, we had 466 calls for service. That's up from 394 in November of 2024. We were 70% officer initiated, 30% citizen initiated. Traffic stops went up slightly, 147 to 156. Citations went up with that as well, 59 compared to 32. And then business checks were up 93 from 56. You might have noticed in the packet, we did have 2 vehicle burglaries in the month of November, which is pretty rare to have burglaries in Litchfield Park. We did make an arrest on that. It was the same suspect for both cases. We were able to use our flock cameras, identify a vehicle, and then follow those leads. And then the first case that we had no leads on, using video surveillance, got to the same person. We were able to recover the property and make an arrest on that one. And December, we had 523 calls for service, which is up from 503. And on that one, we were pretty close, 72% officer initiated, 28% citizen initiated. Traffic stops went up again from 188 to 202. Citations went up quite a bit, 49 to 82. And then business checks as well, 115 from 88. As far as moving forward here in January, starting January 1st, we've got a full-time motor officer now, a traffic officer that started with us. So he's been out on the road daily now, been making a lot of stops. So I think moving forward, when we come to the next meeting, our numbers, you're going to see a big difference because he's doing nothing but traffic enforcement and speed enforcement and handling all traffic complaints for us.
Council, Councilman Claire.
The flock reports. I know that we're getting individual line items on each flock report. Is there a way to identify whether it's the same vehicle so that we know that we're dealing with the same case?
I could put that on there. I mean, that we can see if it is or isn't. I know there is the one that went through Britain and then to Sun Valley. That was the same vehicle.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
James.
Question regarding the flock cameras for the city manager. I saw in December, I think it was the city of Flagstaff that terminated their contract with Flock Safety over at, do we receive any reports from or concerns from residents about the data? Is that an issue here in this town or?
We do get complaints occasionally, sir. Generally, those complaints are regarding privacy information. And what I tell council members, our staff, residents regularly is that our cameras are tag readers. They take photos of cars, not the drivers. There is no photometrics. There is no facial recognition that are on these cameras. So it's important for residents to understand that. Also, it is my policy that city staff cannot see what Flock sees. I don't think that's appropriate. The only people that sees Flock information is PD. And also, if another agency requests information from Avondale PD, they look over the information and they provide information to them versus just giving the other agency access. And I think that's an important control. So I think that's a good way of handling this. There have been some issues with one of the companies that works with Flock. I believe that's Axiom, if I remember correctly, but I believe that's a separate issue. So again, occasionally we get a few resident concerns, but they're almost always about questions of privacy. And I think we do a good job of answering those. You may have noticed there's a request. We have a senator putting forth a bill to limit traffic control cameras. But those are more for traffic enforcement, speed cameras, red light cameras, that kind of thing. And that is not what ours do. Just to be very clear, our flock cameras do not issue tickets ever. Thank you for the question.
Councilman Brainerd Watson.
Oh, I just had a question. I noticed on your report that you have school and speed zone details. Is that just indicating an officer was at the crosswalk or whatever during the school?
Exactly, just that they basically set up a special detail just for a school zone, or whether patrolling traffic or around just the school right there.
Okay, so do you count that, or are they there every day, every school day?
We do usually have officers there every day. We have the SSO officers that are there every day, and that's through the state grant. There are officers there most days, but obviously pending calls for service. If we have a call for service in the morning, might pull them away, but if there are no calls for service or only pulling them away, then they'll be at the school usually.
Thank you.
Referencing the flock system, I've had no personal complaints about it, but and we've had very few flock reports in the last couple of months. But I found it great that when we did have a major event with someone having all their tools stolen, you guys were able to utilize flock and get them back. And without that, the odds probably would have been far less that you'd have been able to figure out who was coming and going at a certain hour when those tools disappeared. So I'm glad you guys are able to use it. And I'm glad that it's working out. The other thing is, all the years we've had you guys here now since you've taken over, I still have not had a complaint. And that's fantastic. So yeah, thank you for the job that you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, staff monthly reports, finance report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. In your packet, you have the November and December reports. Since we're 50% through the year, there's just a few highlights I wanted to touch on. Our sales tax, our city sales tax is 2% year over year through December. Our construction sales tax is up 8%. Our revenues were right at 50% of our budget, and our expenditures were at 48%. We're tracking right where we need to be. So our operating revenues over operating expenses are just over 1.1 million. So that gives us an ending fund balance of just under 32.4 million. Our fund balance policy restricts about 9.8. And then we have committed about 13.2 million in projects. So that leaves an unrestricted balance of about 9.3 million. That number is fluid, it changes based on our monthly revenues. But that's where we're at halfway through the year. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are.
Questions?
Just a generic question. Can you remind me where the 9.3 and unrestricted, what type of account does that sit in?
So our cash actually sits with the state treasurer.
Okay.
And it all sits together in just one account. So we get the maximum interest earnings.
Okay.
But in our financial system,
There's an investment pool that gets a rate that's usually better than you and I can get going to any of the financial people around.
Just like curious, what is that rate?
It's been about 4.5%.
It's like a money market.
A little, we do have a money market that wasn't performing well. We decided to move it all to the state center.
The LGIP fund?
Yeah.
I think it's 393 right now. Is what it fell down to.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay, next up, contamination plume update. Mr. Janowski.
So Vice Mayor, members of council, information is in your packet. Not a lot of movement this last month or two on PGA or Luke. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey, a question. As I read your report, I think as you mentioned, there's been almost zero progress on anybody doing anything at the airbase. Is that correct?
Luke?
Yeah.
Yes, Vice Mayor, as a matter of fact, I had a conversation with the project manager, and what's coming down, just brass tacks is coming down to funding. So
yeah,
they just aren't, it's not a priority project for the federal government right now. There's a fair number of other, I guess, just more dangerous Superfund sites that are getting more, they're getting more allocated and they're getting more identifications. basically the hot potato, and the Luke being the fact that it's already been remediated, you know, on site on Luke itself, and now we're dealing with remedial investigations outside of the base on the Superfund site, I think is playing into that. So the funding just isn't as hot. So they do want to do a few more monitoring wells, and they have a chance to get at the contract project managers and their contractors. But that's what I'm waiting to hear on.
Your report says that the monitoring wells were above standards. Is there any information about drinking water wells?
Vice Mayor, there is, it's more with Liberty and other drinking water providers. They don't have an obligation to share all that information, especially the federal government. So in the area that we're dealing with, the only drinking water that's immediate to us is Liberty and a little bit of Valley Utilities a little further north. But they don't have to share with the federal government to put into the system in the record. We do know that Liberty does actively monitor it. I've had several conversations over the last couple of years. Liberty, all their new wells are getting the filtration and the monitoring. The one that just finished at Monument Point. As a matter of fact, we just did a final completion walk with Liberty and their contractor over there by Monument Point, and that's, as far as I know, in operation. So, and that's got all the bells and whistles for the filtration.
Any questions? Okay, I think you're up next. Capital improvement projects.
Again, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, the information is in the packet. I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have a few items to update since the report. We do have a contractor who provided prices for the recent accidents that have happened in the roundabout. There's one that was southbound. Actually, there's two that was southbound, one that was northbound. The second southbound accident, actually, a lot of people might have seen the video. Kind of a Dukes of Hazzard thing. They actually went in the exact same alignment as the first accident, so they really didn't cause any additional damage. Talked to PD about that one. That was a police chase situation, the one that went up and over. The first accident where the truck actually landed on the roundabout, that was a DUI, and then the northbound accident was a purposeful accident. They were, from what PD told me, it was the individual driving it was suicidal, and there was no brake marks. So they were looking to do that.
There were some comments once upon a time about putting those round noisemakers before this.
That's actually the second thing I was going to mention. So the total of the accident repairs is about $30,000 total for both accidents. It's actually a great deal. I'm usually getting prices for in the neighborhood of $20,000 per accident. So this is $30,000 for 3 accidents to make all the repairs. We're authorizing the contractor to do that work very shortly. With HR, with Lisa over here, she's getting all the claims for the insurance claims, so we are getting a lot of that money back. Rumble bars. So we have engaged a contractor and a design engineer is, I actually just got the exhibit today, sealed by an engineer, for the rumble bars. They're like rumble strips, except they're about 2 inches wide. If anybody's been on the roundabout heading north out of Wickenburg, they have those similar product up there on those roundabouts, just on the first set of roundabouts. So we're going to put 2 on the north leg and 2 sets of 10 on the north leg and 1 set of 10 on the south leg. So going north, we'll just get it 1 set right about where the bus stop, the brand new bus stop is that we built Wigwam and Litchfield. Just that first entrance that we don't have open. That'll be the only set on the northbound. On the southbound side in front of Cache, there will be the first set, I think, is 400 feet north of the roundabout, and the second set is about 300 feet north, right in front of the gate for the southbound turn to Cache. So the spacing changes. So we'll have spread out spacing on the first set of rumble bars. And so if somebody's driving not paying attention, they'll look up and see the warning sign, hey, you got a roundabout coming. The second set's tighter, so it makes it seem like you're going too fast. They'll look up and they'll see the second sign for the roundabout. And the whole idea is that they've had 2 tactile and audible noises to warn them that something's coming.
Okay. Questions? Councilman Claire?
Timing to get that done? Because we've been talking about this for over a year.
I actually have a contractor who's giving me a quote probably by tomorrow. I have a sealed exhibit from an engineer, so we're definitely serious about getting that done.
And then we've talked about other things, additional signage, additional lighting. Have we gone anywhere with any of those options?
Councilmember Claire, the same engineer who prepared the exhibit is doing safety analysis of the roundabout. So they will be looking at signs, lighting, geometric, if there's anything wrong with the geometry, sight distances, all the standard engineering, transportation, safety items that need to be looked at. So they'll be doing in situ light measurements. So they'll instead of just designing a light, we put a luminaire on, we hope it's bright enough. Then you actually build it, you're not, hey, it's too bright, too dark. They'll actually go out and measure the light, measure the foot candles.
If you're driving south on Litchfield Road and you pass the entrance into the greens heading southbound, there's not one light in the center median or on the westbound side of Litchfield Road until you get to the roundabout. There's 4 palm trees that are lit north of the roundabout, but that is one contiguous island. It seems to me to be very simple to just run additional lighting along all those additional palm trees and not make it a runway where people are doing 80, 90, 100 mile an hour traveling south, not paying attention if they're drunk or whatever it is, not able to recognize that something dangerous is upcoming. So additional lighting to me makes a lot of sense. And we've been talking about this for forever. So the timeline on the engineering report, you're going to have back. And then after we get the engineering report, how long to do that? Because we're averaging at least 1 accident a month at this point.
Yes, Councilman Claire, and it's maybe a little more stretched out than that. And actually, I did count. There's 17 accidents the roundabout, and 16 of them are DUI or other chemical relation. So, in the safety mechanism of what a roundabout does, the average crash for the average person who's not under the influence is almost 100% change from what a signalized intersection would be, because there are no accidents. We have no reports of accidents of same vehicle accidents. There's no head-on. Obviously, there's no opportunity for a head-on collision in a roundabout. There's only sides or rear ends. We have none of that. So it is a very safe intersection, except for when somebody has been when they're DUI or under drugs.
I'm a big proponent of roundabouts. We just don't have enough lighting coming south on that road. We've got to react to this quicker than just allowing accidents to stack up.
Councilmember Claire, I've designed and constructed about a dozen roundabouts in the valley. I can tell you that not all of them get lights. As a matter of fact, most of them don't on approaches. Almost all of them get them, just like we did here where I think we put 15 along 15, 18, somewhere around 20 new lights for the intersection. And that's pretty standard. You want the intersection, anywhere that there's any change, geometric change, traffic control change, anything with pedestrians. So the actual intersection itself, I think we're going to find from the safety report that it does meet the minimums. The approaches, their lighting isn't required for any approach on any street. It's a pedestrian aspect. If you have a crossing, if you have a crosswalk of some kind, if you have an intersecting roadway. I know that you mentioned the greens. I know we have a light in that area. I don't think there's a light in that one exit gate just because it's a closed exit gate. There's probably some thinking behind that on why that. And obviously we have a dark sky attenuation like we try to do here at the city. So I think that's the whole reason on why the corridor has never had lighting.
Well, to be 100% honest, I understand the minimum requirements of that we meet the minimum requirements and the intersection meets the standards that we put up when we initially went through all the safety checks. Life is telling us that we have to do more. I mean, we have accidents happening there. We have to find a way to protect those that can't, to protect as much as we can. I mean, someone else is going to get hurt there badly if we do not step up and do something minor, putting in lighting, I'm glad we got the rumble strips done, but this just continually happens every month. We talk about this and it's just not getting done. I would like to see a sense of urgency in an additional, Matthew, you and I have talked about this in our weekly meetings. I would like to see some sense of urgency to get additional lighting, additional safety measures, to do something to slow down the traffic on Litchfield so that as people are approaching the roundabout, they're traveling at a safer speed. Because anyone doing 80, 90 mile an hour, especially if they're inebriated, is not going to manage that roundabout at all, in any roundabout. But we've given them a runway. It's too dark, it's too wide, and it's a good road, so they're flying down that road. And we've got to find a way to mitigate that speed. Minimum standards aren't enough.
Absolutely, and we'll have the safety report, hopefully within the next month. I assume that they would be done before the next council meeting. It'll identify any safety items. It'll be done, and sealed by a traffic engineer that is experienced in lighting. So it'll be, have recommendations and a conclusion within it.
May I? So the report is going to give us a minimum standard as well, or is it going to give us an optimal, what we could do to make it as safe as possible?
A little bit of both, Councilmember Claire. I've done several safety studies, and they look at all aspects. They'll look at, for instance, we'll go lighting. They'll go out and measure the actual lighting. They'll measure, they'll look at the configurations. They'll do a foot candles mapping, and they'll say, here's the map, and here's the hot areas that you can add more light, or we're not gonna have the problem, but take light away. I've had that before. And then obviously we'll see in the north and south legs it gets a little darker because that's just not where any light is. And then they'll do measurements at MTCD and other standards, AASHTO standards, roadside design guidelines. There's various other standards, the ITE guidelines dictate what engineers use to when a roadway needs to get lit. For instance, we're talking about lighting. So they'll compare that to what the minimum standards are, and then they'll compare it to what, because a lot of minimum standards are related to dollar amount. A lot of cities don't want to spend $1 million, they can spend 700,000 and get close to the minimum. We might not be in that situation from what I'm hearing from you. So then we'll talk to them and say, we want to have, there's a fancier word, but beefed up security, beefed up hazard mitigation. So provide a recommendation for closer space lighting or brighter luminaire heads, for instance, in lighting.
Just to continue, I'll try to be quick because I know we're running late. Of the 17 accidents that you counted in the roundabout since we've opened, how many are southbound versus northbound?
Like 85% are south.
And what's the difference between the northbound and the southbound entrance to the roundabout?
The fact that we have the wigwam traffic signal and that there are no, from what we can tell, not a lot of people who are visiting bars in this area are going that way. They're hitting bars from, I read all the traffic reports, so they're coming from a variation of restaurants that way. So they're coming southbound. And the differences are just the fact that, they measure the brake distance and the skid marks, and these cars aren't even turning.
Yeah, because they're flying.
Keith, I drive that all the time. When you're going southbound, it's very, very dark. And the light that you see is the traffic light at Wigwam. It's like if you're the drunks and the non-drunks driving in that dark area are going to focus on that traffic light that they can see coming up. And then boom, all of a sudden there's a roundabout, between them. The lighting, the rumble strips, but I think the lighting is an important issue, also in there so that because really I drive it all the time, and you focus on that traffic light down there, it stands out. That roundabout does not stand out.
Yeah, at night that green and red it's pretty piercing. Right through the middle of the
yes
plants and trees that we have there. So I've seen the same thing.
Okay, any other questions, comments, Councilmember Brandon Watson?
We put in the stop signs over here that flash. Do they make a similar sign for roundabouts that might flash
We have the yield signs that do flash
up there?
on all four legs.
Right.
The one thing I wanted to ask for consideration is that if you decide to move forward with the rumble strips, there may be a noise factor for surrounding residents. So I would just think about that when you make your decision on the type of rumble strip or whatever you decide to recommend in the future, that there may be consequences for noise to residents that may hear that at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning?
We went through about 4 different kinds of rumble strips, and there's different things you can do the grind in, and then there's various sizes of the grind in. Those make a louder noise. There's I call them turtlebacks, the round ones where they make rumble strips out of those. Those would be pretty loud. Then there's also we're doing a thermoplastic, which is a adhesive, heated adhesive, kind of like when they put the paint down or the handicap signs. They heat that, and then they put it's about a 1/4 inch, an eighth of or a 1/4 of an inch piece of thermo on top of the adhesive. We did that so that if for any reason it is too loud or it's just not working for us, that they can come up generally easy without us having to repave. So it's kind of a trial. So if we like it and it's not too loud, we can keep them. If we like it and it's it's too loud, then there's other options that we can do that aren't going to be rumble strips, but they will be tactile, where you can get the feeling.
Thank you for that consideration. That's great.
I'm super worried about the Cache folks because it's right there.
Yeah. Is it possible to put one of the, is it possible to put one of them right there where the golf course is, so there's not residents?
Councilman Leclerc, there's a lot of configurations you can do. As a matter of fact, on highways, they usually do 3 to 4 sets, and it's over like a half-mile stretch. So you're going faster. So we have we have a posted speed of 35, so a design speed of 45. So when the engineers look at it, they have to consider that speed limit. And so you don't get as much distance between each one, so you can't stretch them out too far. But what you can do is put a few more ahead of it. So we have, that's another option is if it works or if it doesn't work, if we have to move the one that's right next to Cache, we can move it back. But if you read the traffic manuals, because I was talking about the engineer who designed it today or yesterday about this, when you get too far in advance of the warning you're trying to warn them about, then you don't forget about it. It just doesn't become as effective. So now you make a noise, and then the hazard is a half-mile away. So you kind of there's a happy spot.
Understand. Any other questions, comments? It's moving a lot.
Quick question or a quick comment. Camelback Park parking came out very nice. The speed bumps are seeming to do what they're intended and slow down traffic up there, which is good. Unintended consequence, people are still parking right there where the swing set is and where the bathroom is. So now you've got cars still lining up on the street. And I think we need to observe and see what happens when spring soccer happens and how the parking situation works out. So essentially, yes, you do have parking there to use the toilet, but like tonight was a great example. You have two minivans parked right there at the swing set instead of going up, parking in the 45 and using the sidewalk that we built to get to the place. So just, I'm not sure if there's anything that needs to be done, but it should at least be on our radar there. Is it safe to say from understanding your report and Paige, is HERF off of calendar year or fiscal year?
Fiscal year.
Okay, so fiscal year, but it appears that we're essentially going to use 80 to 90% of our HERF funds this year for sealing and road repair in and about the city, correct?
And the roundabout.
And the roundabout. Okay, so that is because I noticed that was on consent agenda coming up, so I just wanted to make sure, get it out now versus pulling something off consent agenda. The intersection at Dysart and Camelback, who owns that?
That is us, and we know we got a big hole.
We've got 9 big holes out there right now. It is, I don't know if anybody drives that intersection. I encourage you. It's a lot of it's due to the high usage that it gets. It's also a lot due to the truck traffic in both directions, east, west, and north, south. But it is a pothole haven. And so
I was talking to Troy in the last 2 days about this. It's a little too much for our staff to do. That's 32,000 cars a day is almost like a mini Bell Road. So I'm going to put our guys out there with cones and trucks. The contractor that actually did the Camelback Park parking lot, and who's also doing the roundabout construction, I've approached them and already am seeking a proposal for them to pave those holes. So unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of traffic control and various setups of traffic control just for 20-minute pothole repairs. It'd be expensive, but it'll be worth
But that would be what you'd say, be the initial plan would be pothole repair, and then eventually if it gets down the road, then we're looking at like we did at Dysart and School, or just completely.
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, on one of the, so in this council item that we're gonna ask for some money for the pavement management, the second half includes pavement replacement. So we peel off the top layer of asphalt and just repave, leaving the AB. The intersection is on that list.
Last two, I was confused by Scout Lodge. In your report, you said was on hold. Could you expand on that?
Might tag team with Matthew on this, but as of right now, so we were moving forward. I had an architect and his design team designing the new location. So we were gonna pick it up and move it across the street to the Scout Park, new foundation, new utilities to it, new parking lot, new everything. I think we got 70%, 60% done, and the folks from the Scout organization approached us for a proposal to build a new building. And Matthew's been coordinating a lot of that, but so we put our architect on hold because they've come to the table, signed the MOU last month, 2 months ago, the previous meeting. And so if they can raise the funds and make it happen, then we don't need to continue our project, our CIP project.
Okay. Last.
Councilmember James, to elaborate on that a little bit, Heath's right. We talked with the Scout group for, I have to think about it, at least 6 to 8 months to get that MOU in place, and we were planning it both ways just in case. Because either way, Scout Lodge has to move. And we didn't know, to be honest, if the Scout Lodge MOU was going to work out. So we were planning in our own way with having the plans done. But then it came together for the Scouts to raise the money. So we were playing it both ways just in case. That's why. And of course, the Scouts were trying to raise the money. We hope that they do and they get to build the new lodge. But obviously, our design is Paul's, and hopefully, we don't have to design anything and they build it themselves. But that's why. A couple other comments, questions that have been asked. Councilmember Claire is correct, and that we have discussed it, just to be honest, probably weekly, about the lighting in Litchfield Road as far as particularly north of the roundabout, and Public Works is aware of that, of getting quotes to extend the conduit and the lighting. And I'm certainly not a traffic engineer, but I would agree that it does need more lighting than it is dark. So I think Councilmember Claire is correct that it does need to be it needs to be more well lit, however you want to say it. I do think the wigwam traffic light makes a huge difference on the south end, but you don't have that on the north end. It's a little more complicated. But I think lighting will help a lot. To Councilmember James's point about the parking on the curb, if we need to red curb that, we can at Camelback Park. The problem with that is, I'm sorry to say, people are lazy. It's like people at a gym. People go to the gym and fight over the closest parking space. It's the same at Camelback Park. You can put an angle parking, but they still want to park as close as they can. It's just human nature. But if we need to red curb it for safety purposes, we can. We will look at that and see. Thank you for calling.
And that intersection probably would, well, I'll look at the manual, but can't paint all curb just because, but we're at a T intersection and we're within a certain distance of the curb turns. So I'm almost certain we can do that.
Perfect.
And one more.
Last one.
Promise. Okay.
For this agenda item. Camelback wall in your packet. I mean, I saw we got to, we talked about, we got to reduce it. We're still doing that. And it said completion into spring or late winter. And I was wondering, I'm thinking maybe that was just a typo. Could you maybe narrow that window down of what we're thinking there?
Yes, sir. That probably more than likely was a typo.
Okay.
The idea, so we have 95% plans. We just kind of put those on hold, went through the public meeting and went through all that. And then a lot of CIP projects came up, including things like high schools and libraries. So we do have the plans, we do have the budget, and we just have to have the consultant finish the plans and then take these out to bid. And then, over that process is probably a couple months to secure a contractor and get them started. So the springtime is probably about right.
Okay, but springtime for maybe, like, when do you think, somebody's out there moving the wall or knocking a wall down or demoing? When do you think, just ballpark on, it's actually done and we built that wall and it's 10 feet with the view slats? And
I mean, I would say that if we can secure a contractor March, April, they should be able to get out in April, May kind of thing. And it's easily a 9-month project.
Okay.
Perfect. There's some utilities that have to, we can't dictate when utilities will come out and move it. There's sometimes where a contractor will have to stop or hopscotch and get out of the way of the utility and we have to sit there and wait, and that can take a month or two. So utilities the right of way acquisitions and utilities are the two killers of big CIP projects, and luckily we don't have any right of way problems. But the utilities I can't control.
Did you say 9 months?
9 months because we learned our lesson on the China Wall. They had we procured a contractor, I think March, and the block didn't arrive till June. So many of those months are sitting and waiting for material. So they're not going to tear down the wall until we get started on the other wall. So there's a phasing thing.
Thank you.
I do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Are we still on capital?
Yes, we still,
Okay.
we still are on, special projects update.
That's that guy.
So I know, we're on CIP. I'm trying to get to special projects.
You're manifesting special projects right now. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question on the Public Works building. In your report, it says that in 2025, there was a rough order magnitude cost of about $2 million. Our CIP budget for that item is $2.2 million. And then you got another revised rough order magnitude cost of just over $3 million. So are we looking at another potential overage that's going to come back to council for, this $800,000 potential overage?
That's Alan. That was one of the last items I was going to talk about.
Sorry, we got okay.
Well, the particular subject of cost estimating. So the last maybe 2 years, we've had a lot of help, if you want to call it that, from our consultants on cost estimating. And I'm sure Councilmember Frazier has dealt with a lot of consultant engineer opinion and probable cost estimates. They aren't accurate a lot of times. Sometimes they hit the ball, but a lot of times they're not. So we did rely on our architect. This particular situation, your question, we did rely a lot on our architect. Buildings aren't exactly my forte. The site work and the roadway improvements are. So we did get an estimate on that from our architect that did it with, we had a previous architect, actually the architect that worked on the bathroom building for the Litchfield Square. They did the initial concept for the Public Works building, and they gave us a rough order of magnitude of about that $2 million. I actually beefed that up when they gave it to me back then. So I think I added 10%. Unfortunately, and we're actually experiencing this with the library now. Steel is becoming a problem, and the problem right now is there's a delay in getting it. What happens next is it's kind of the same thing that happened to all the air conditioners in 22 and 23. People wanted to open Taco Bells and other things, and they ordered their air conditioners, and then they took 6 to 9 months to get there, so they couldn't open. Then after that, it became twice the price and 6 to 9 months, and steel follows the same thing. We have a lot of metal in that building, so the market has really taken a big swing. I have only had one contractor look at it, so that's just a rough order of magnitude. I actually had a contractor look at it this time instead of an architect. I do have 2 other contractors who are going to look at this and hopefully give us a better price. And I have asked him to go back and sharpen his pencil if he does want to do business here.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think the theme that I'm kind of hearing is that we have issues that come up, and I think having a strategic plan, especially that involves our prioritization for CIP, will be important. So that way, when we deal with situations like that, it's clear like what our prioritization is and what we can accomplish strategically. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I think that this has kind of brought up a process issue. And so I think that getting, our plan in place is a good thing for this.
Thank you.
And for cost estimates, and I talked to Matthew about this, full cost estimates for CIP in-house in engineering. So that was my forte before I came here. I did a lot of cost estimating for ADOT, for MCDOT, for almost every East Valley city. I'd come within 2 to 5%. I had a lot of contacts with contractors. I'm going to pull more cost estimating in-house, especially when we're doing our CIP budgets. I'm actually putting models together. Relying on consultants isn't even good enough anymore to get their number and then add 25%. It's still not accurate. It's not detailed enough. And I get the heebie-jeebies when I'm not within 5% of when the low bid contractor. So We'll be more on that, and then we'll have more contractors. I think a lot of them are willing to look at projects, just the opportunity to do work in the city and give you a rough order of magnitude. So I'm going to leverage that as much as we can as well too.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you, Keith, appreciate it. And now, special projects updates. Mr. Croach, we had no special projects, right?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, good evening. My report is for you in this packet regarding special projects, including everything within Litchfield Square, the Hilltop project, and Thomas. I will tell you, there's a couple of updates. I've jinxed myself for Mike Adolfo and family project in lot 1 and lot 2. Those plans have been resubmitted now, so we'll take a second look at his building plans. The museum is looking to start work with Waltz Construction in the 3rd week of February. And I do have some lovely photos I'd like to show you of construction progress at the school. This is from the yard where we all park, and you're looking north at the main classroom building. We have the quad where they play hacky sack and other things. I don't know what they do nowadays. Within all the classroom buildings. This is looking at the north parking lot, the staff parking area, the visitor parking area, looking towards the library. You'll note that that final block has already been complete on the library in the background up to its full height. This is a look northeast at the theater. So the scaffolding you can see is all set on the lobby, the house, the stage, and now just finishing up the block on the back of house operations. But just for a sense of scale, the final height is now complete on the theater. This is a look at the stormwater retention. You can see the gentleman there as far as the sense of scale. That is a very big hole and a very large amount of retention. This is a look inside building A, classroom spaces. Drywall will be up here before we know it. Quite frankly, it's astonishing. They mentioned they've had 110, folks working out there today. Here's just looking in building B, if I recall correctly. The 2nd floor decking is all getting put in. Another look at building B. This is the lobby of the theater. So you can see the very large windows looking north, nice into the shade. So you can look up at the cottages on top of the hill. And then here's a look at the house. On the left would be the stage. You can see the ramps up to the stage. On the right, you can see some of those ramps back into the lobby. And you can see the big cutout there above. That is the sound and lights operation in the back of the house. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about any of the projects. As I do that, I'll just pull up the overhead view from a couple of weeks ago, just so you can get a sense of how big these buildings are. I will tell you also, the Thomas had a pre-con meeting this morning, so we're very excited to see that one getting going on all of the site improvements. Happy to answer your questions.
Questions? Just one.
You go ahead.
Just one.
Just one. When does the redistribution of that large pile of dirt to Sundown?
Councilman James, I don't mean to laugh, but if I don't laugh, we'll cry. Just for those that don't travel north very often, I'll see if I can quickly just pull up a sense of scale. If you haven't seen the spoils pile here, it is taller than anything else on site at this point. We are looking for any and all partners. Sun Health has an obligation. It's their mess to clean up. I'm sorry, not something. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So excuse me.
Right there.
It's a long meeting. Olive Freya and McCarthy have created this mess, and Olive Freya School District and McCarthy are looking for solutions to fix this situation. Susie is one of the wonderful partners that we have that is hoping to help Olive Freya in this situation we've called any and all of our friends, including the base, including the city of Glendale, to try and get it off. We were hoping to have this removed in November of last year, and we are still dealing with the repercussions. This morning / last night, McCarthy mobilized and got a portion of that tile that was in the library's way and Hayden's way out of the way. They just moved it further west. No, we'd like them to move it out. So if you have a friend, we're taking any and all folks that would like some dirt.
Question? On the pile of dirt, have you explored the pit that's at Bethany Home in the 303 on the northeast corner? There was a lot of fill that was taken from that for ADOT 303 construction and slowly filled in over time, but it's a parcel that can't be sold until that pit is filled. I would imagine that they are looking for fill.
That pit was actually requested by the farmer when they were building that piece of food and donated to ADOT for the interchange, just never asked for more dirt return. So it's not a bad idea.
He sold his dirt. But in order to sell the ground moving forward, they're gonna have to fill it. Not very far. I mean, it's.
Thank you.
There's not.
Okay, anything else?
Quick question on the Gantt chart.
Yes.
We got a lot of things that are past due with 0% completion or limited completion.
Yes, Councilmember Claire, the joy of a Gantt chart is as soon as I print it, it's outdated. The nice thing is now with Waltz on board with the museum, with Hayden very far in, and with McCarthy, I can take their charts and really do a comprehensive update to ours. It may make more sense for me to get out of the Gantt chart business and for me to provide the McCarthy, Hayden, and Waltz Gantt charts as is, because those are updated every day. And I do my best to keep up to date with mine, but it's a tricky process with the software I have.
Yeah, if it gives you the ability to give better reporting, I'm all for it.
Wonderful.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'll be quick, Mr. Vice Mayor. Just to be a little more blunt than Randy is on the dirt. There's people that will take the dirt, but Agri-Free is trying to find the best solution, obviously, to save money on the trucking. For example, we reached out to the city of Glendale. The city of Glendale landfill on Glendale Avenue will take the dirt. They'll use it for landfill coverage. It's just a matter of Agri-Free trucking the dirt over there. It just has to be delivered and stockpiled, and there's a lot of money in delivering that dirt and loading and hauling. That's really all there is to it. So Agri-Free is looking at the best option money-wise between, of course, Sun Health and Agri-Free and Glendale and Luke as well. Luke would take some, but of course, then you can imagine security clearances running dump trucks in and out of Luke Air Force Base all day long. But there are people that will take it. It's just natural Agri-Free is trying to find the cheapest option to save money on diesel fuel and hauling. So it's not a problem having somewhere to take it. It's Agri-Free trying to find the best deal. That's what it really comes down to. So there are people that will take it, just so you know.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Next, communications update, Mrs. Brunson Cool. Let's see how good you are at succinctly communicating.
Vice Mayor and Council, the communications report is in your packet. Previous council report, there was a request for more measurable results. So some year-over-year data is included in the report on the last page. I would say anecdotally, sometimes what the communications function can do or will do can be hard to tie to something like revenue. We use a lot of correlation, especially with events. So you can take example, the Christmas tree lighting event. On social, it received over 100,000 views on one vehicle. And you can see that the event was well attended, visually well attended. I say visually because we can't measure, there's multiple entry and exit points. It's a free event, so we're not counting attendees per se, but there is a direct correlation between say social traffic, so engagement, comments, and attendance. With that being said, there are measurable results in this communications report, so happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Just a quick statement. The amount of traffic I'm seeing on social media is tenfold up. And you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Everything I see, engagement wise is up in a level, which is what we've asked you to do. So thank you for that.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Looks great.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, magistrate reports in your package. If you got a question, contact the city manager. Next is the consent agenda. Anything anybody wants to pull off?
Yes. Find it, I just clicked off. It is the pavement management construction services.
Item D.
And item B.
Item B.
Item C.
Item C. Anybody else?
CT.
Okay. Do we have a motion on the non-pulled off items for approval?
So moved.
Second. Okay, got a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Now we go to item B. Camelback Road pedestrian underpass. Who pulled that off?
Me.
Okay, then you're up.
I had a couple of quick questions on the Camelback Road underpass, which is different from the Litchfield Road underpass. Is staff recommending the underpass as the sole solution to addressing the pedestrian crossings along Camelback Road?
No, ma'am. I think a lot of people use the Litchfield comeback signal as well. On this one, just to be honest on this one, I just want to see council's temperature. We've done no D&E whatsoever on a Camelback underpass, but I didn't want to put the money into it if it wasn't something you guys wanted to do. As we get into planning Camelback Road, which is where we are now, designing between Litchfield Road and Bullard Wash, if you want an underpass, we need to plan for one. But again, I didn't want to put the time or the money into the D&E if it's something you don't want. That's all. I was just looking for council staff direction if you want one there at all.
I have another question then.
Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned that the city has not done any D&E yet.
Correct.
So will alternatives be considered as part of that design process?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I just wanted to make sure, if you're looking at everything, will the alternatives be kind of formally evaluated and then brought back to council
Yes, ma'am.
before any further commitments were made?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We would have to bring you guys a contract for D&E anyway. This is just asking you guys if you want us to look for D&E proposals in the first place before we even do anything. That's all. But yes, we would look at options at that time when we bring you that contract for D&E.
Okay. And then I just wanted to make sure that I understood the process that you're recommending at this point. So what is the process that you're recommending?
Yes, ma'am. My first question on this one, do you want us to get into this at all? You guys may not want to underpass on a Camelback Road. And if that's the case, fine. Okay, then we can do that. However, if you want us to look into proposals for D&E, we can do that as well. That's what this item is. If you choose to do that, we'll obtain proposals for design and engineering, including things like alternatives, and we would bring you that back to council for approval. For example, if the project, I'm totally spitballing here, say the project is $2.5 million, I'd look for $250,000 in design. You, of course, would have to approve a contract for design and engineering, just like you would approve a contract for construction. So that would be what I would recommend. If this is something you guys want to do, we'll look into it further at design and engineering alternatives, et cetera. But again, I didn't want to do that if it's something you guys don't want to do.
And then my last question was, is this on our CIP plan? And if not, okay, so it's not prioritized at all as a project.
No.
Thank you.
Same.
So if I had not pulled this out, and we had moved forward with the consent agenda, would you be moving forward with the design phase?
We would get proposals for design, and then we bring those back to you guys.
Right.
I can't just approve the design cost because what it'll cost. It'll probably cost you $250,000 to design it. But so this is just to request your approval if you want us to go out and find proposals for D&E in the first place. If that makes sense.
Okay.
It's really council staff direction.
Okay.
The agenda item is to approve staff obtaining proposals, not to approve spending any money.
Right.
Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion on this item or do we have a lack of motion?
So moved.
Second.
Those are motions to approve?
Yes.
Okay. Is the mayor still online?
Mayor, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, so we've got a motion. Do you have any comment on this?
No, no, I don't have any comments. I'm happy.
Okay, sorry, motion made and seconded, we'll call for the vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and Mayor, to back up, did you also vote in favor of the approval of the consent items, less items B and C and D?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item C, traffic signals, Camelback. Okay.
But my only question is, are we abandoning the concept? I mean, I know that you're just looking for direction to go do D&E, to explore D&E for, but are we abandoning the potential roundabout at Villanueva and Camelback? Or are we just moving the ball forward ahead of the roundabout with the traffic signal?
Councilmember James, good question. So it's very similar to what Councilmember Allen asked. Part of the proposals here, we would look at alternatives that we would present those to you guys. If you want to proceed with a traffic signal or a roundabout, either one, you can do either one at this intersection. Just a roundabout will cost you, probably 2.5 times the money. But of course, there are other things, as Keith talked about before. I would tell you that a roundabout is safer than a signal. Obviously, it's much more complicated than that. But that would be part of this proposal, would be that we would look at alternatives to that. But yes, we were looking for council staff direction on this. If you guys want us to plan design for a roundabout, or if you want us to plan for a signal, maybe you don't at all. Maybe you just want us to just look at alternatives at this time. Maybe you're not ready to commit to that. There's pros and cons to a signal and a roundabout. Obviously, but it's expensive.
Nothing, man.
Please.
We should do a DCR design concept report. Engineering will be early stages, and they can look at multiple then cost estimates and if it's cost benefit ratio pros and cons. So a lot of times we do that for roadways and intersection improvements. You do it all the time for ADOT.
And Keith, the DCR does 30% plans as well, correct?
Roughly about 30%, somewhere between 15 and 30% plans, but usually cost estimates are pretty good.
That was my appeal is I just don't, I want to make sure we see all the options, particularly there. So I don't want to just say we're going traffic signal right now. I would just like to see all the options. And I think, I can't speak for the rest of council, but I would think that would be.
I would agree. And we would look to do the same thing at the Camelback underpass as well, looking at alternatives there. Because either way, it's doing some of the design that you have to do either way. So it's money well spent.
Did we not give direction to staff once upon a time as part of the Camelback design process to put a roundabout maybe into the new entrance into Sun Health?
Yes, sir. There is a roundabout there. That's correct.
Okay.
That's no question.
These are two other intersections we're talking about. This one at Camelback and at Villanueva. That's the one in the old in the walls. Okay, in the Village Parkway.
Correct. No question, the Sun Health roundabout will get built. This is a different intersection.
Okay. And this needs to be done, I presume, in conjunction with the Camelback design process.
Well, it does particularly on the Village signal. I'm trying to save you guys money. If you want to build a signal at Village and also a signal at Villanueva, it would make sense to design them at the same time. But that being said, you may not be ready to do that yet, and that's okay too.
How far away is that signal, the Village Parkway, from the entrance, the new entrance into Sun Health? They're pretty close, aren't they? That far?
Yeah. The Sun Health roundabout, sir, is going to be west of where Denny Boulevard is today.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and so is the entrance into Village Parkway. So
If you're suggesting what I think you're saying, I've been trying for years to build a roundabout at Village Parkway instead of, but that's not the entrance to Sun Health. The entrance to the Sun Health development is at the roundabout, not at Village Parkway. I think that's what you're asking me, sir.
Well, I wonder if there shouldn't be two of them.
Two roundabouts?
Yeah, we're trying to slow down traffic on Camelback.
If you want to spend the money, sir, we can certainly do that.
Okay, help me out here a second. Once upon a time, we went through this prior to you, Keith, we went through this exercise on the cost of roundabouts versus the cost of traffic lights. Traffic lights at that point were somewhere just slightly less than $1 million. Roundabouts were something slightly more than $1 million. Now I'm hearing numbers that roundabouts are 3 times the price of a traffic light.
2.5, about $1 million for signals, about 2.5 for a roundabout. With some right-of-way acquisition and utility road.
But if the roundabout is done in conjunction with redoing Camelback Road, the cost savings there would be significant, I would think.
Yeah, it's like anything else. If you just do 5 feet of curb, you're gonna pay a lot. If you do 500 feet of curb, it's a lot less per foot.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So your 2.5 million for the roundabout may not be a good number if we do it in conjunction with redoing Camelback Road.
But we would rather tell you too high than come in too low.
You do have a point, Vice Mayor Faith. That's exactly right. So we wouldn't know how to break it up until we got a contract for cost, and then we would just break up that percentage of it. Because when you think about a roundabout, it's just, everybody thinks it's really technical. I mean, it's just meandering curves, and it's still concrete. And
We're gonna meander that whole street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, if we're putting in new curbs and gutter and asphalt, the difference is gonna be by that curve, adding a few square yards, additional material, making the curves. If we got the guys there already, unless we put a bunch of rocks in the middle of people to run over.
Big rocks. I'd say, if we're doing something like what we're doing on Britton, you know, it's kind of a standalone project, then the ratio is a little more accurate. You're exactly right. If we're probably at least 30%, 20-30% cheaper just on, if you look at the roundabout in conjunction with everything else, because it's part of a bigger project.
This is a council decision as to whether we want to have 2 roundabouts or 1 roundabout and 2 traffic lights.
For best use of the roundabouts. We need to put something at Villanueva and Camelback, which is what Justin was talking about.
Yeah.
So we also need to look at the bookend on the west side of either Village or the entrance to.
Are we redesigning Camelback only west of Litchfield Road, or are we also redesigning Camelback between Litchfield and Dysart?
Well, eventually to Dysart, but for right now, so we're only designed to Litchfield Road. If you're, from what I'm hearing from you guys, my recommendation to you would be, let's do a DCR on both intersections, on Village and Camelback and Villanueva and Camelback.
What's that gonna cost us?
Full design is usually 10% of the cost. A DCR, if we want to do survey, we'll have to pick up some nuances, but a DCR that we're talking about, somewhere maybe in the neighborhood of 50,000
per intersection.
No, for the book. I mean, they would send survey out for both intersections at the same time. They would do data collection and utility coordination for both at the same time.
And that information is useful no matter which way we go.
Yeah, I mean, a DCR is about that thick. It's got 3 or 4 different sets of plans, accompanying cost estimates, 20 pages of write-up for various traffic items, safety elements, write-ups on utility coordination, adjacent properties, if we have to acquire any right-of-way to make it work, which in this case we do for Sun Health, but they're giving it to us because that's part of the requirement for Half Street improvements. You know, if we're doing, Villanueva has that big honking drainage channel, and there's a big, you guys might have seen that manhole that's just kind of sticking up out there at the sewer manhole. Well, that got, you know, that will have to get taken care of on any situation.
It may not be doable because the road's so narrow. Is that what you're saying?
I honestly think that almost no matter what we do there, we're tinkering with that drainage channel in one way or another. It's either gonna get a box culvert or a couple of pipes, or it's gonna get shifted over a little bit. If we have to make some room for the big foundations for a traffic signal, we also have to take care of that. There's a road that comes through there for that private development that they kind of access onto Camelback. If we do a roundabout, we'll have to connect to that. If we do a traffic signal, we'll probably stay away from it. So those are the kind of things you would get write-ups on and a plan on in that DCR.
Is this traffic signal also lining up with something Goro wants to do? Is that line up with his property, or is it?
That signal does line up with that property, but what eventually gets built there will affect that intersection, but you don't know that yet, but it will affect it. Based off your conversation when I was just asking Joe, so there's enough wiggle there. If you guys wanted to, you could give staff approval to not exceed $75,000 to a DCR on these 2 intersections, if that's something you guys would like to do. Obviously, that's different than actual D&E costs, because the D&E costs will be much more than that. But this would give you more information on what you want to build here, if you want to build signals or if you want to build roundabouts.
Comments?
We also talked about, as we're redoing the wall at Camelback Park, which is adjacent to that, we're moving everything out, we're working on the road in the intersection there at Camelback and Dicer at the same time, are we not? Did I miss something there? Isn't that part of our CIP projects that we have?
The wall is, yes, sir.
The wall is, but aren't we also doing something with the road at that spot besides?
Yeah, yes, sir, that's correct. I'm sorry.
So if we're
Putting
putting
that
all
in
that,
like-
going back to Paul's initial thing, if in a comprehensive thought, if we put all these thoughts together instead of bidding all these projects individually, and we put all these projects together, we're buying in mass instead of buying individual pieces. We're saving money.
Yes.
We're not forward thinking in the way that we're buying all these. So we're paying a premium because we're buying segments instead of looking at the totality of the project.
I would also like to add, and Susie reminded me, the traffic signal at Village is currently a part of the scope for their engineer, the agreement that we want to do with Sun Health for the widening. We wanted it to go on council this month, so it's going to be in the next one to authorize moving forward on that. And they are ready to go. They're actually kicking off the project next week. So there is a little bit of a time of the essence on what we want to do on that signal at Village.
Sun Health's property goes as far and past
Right
to the
about
west, that
Yeah.
signal.
Just right past where the signal will be, where the road kind of widens.
On Valley.
Okay. Okay, so what's the council want to do?
Keith, did you also mention a DCR for the Camelback Road pedestrian underpass as well, or would that be included, like?
Councilman Allen, we could do separate or together.
I
You honestly can do a DCR for anything.
I want to say first that I really appreciate this approach of a DCR to kind of help council understand the different options that are involved. I think us having the library of information helps inform our decision making. So thank you for that. I think that that's really important, and I think it's a good tool to use going forward, especially as we look at prioritizing our projects.
So, Matthew, if I understand what you said the possibility of $75,000 max approval to do these study reports on these two intersections.
Yes, sir.
So the amended motion?
No, there's no motion on the table yet.
You haven't made a motion yet.
There's no motion.
So
You have a recommended motion in your packet, but you can make the motion pretty much wherever you want to within reason.
So do we have to vote it
Make a
down?
motion with what you'd like.
There's no motion on the table.
Right.
Okay, so I'll probably mess this up. So I would like to make a motion that we amend item C to include a DCR, a DCR on the Camelback Village Parkway and Camelback Villanueva Design and Engineering, not to exceed more than $75,000. Is that right?
Works for me if it works for you.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I do want
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Now discussion. You have a comment, Keith?
Sorry for interrupting. I apologize, Vice Mayor. So we do have to consider on the Village Parkway intersection that it is currently in the design scope for the Sun Health. consultant. So I think part of that might have to be that we'd have to peel that off, and then they would just design through it, because they will, if we do a DCR, the DCR is going to take months, and then you get a plan. It takes months to get it done right. That's the bad thing about DCR is when you identify a project, you do a DCR, and then you push the construction of it out on your plan. So a DCR will take a couple months, and by then we will probably have final plans. So we might have to recommend to take the signal out of the scope of Sun Health at that time, and then depending on what the DCR says for that intersection, say it says signal, then we'll have to change order into the contractor's scope. So it makes it a little more complicated, but DCRs are the right way to get it.
I thought the intersection that they were designing was going to be a traffic light and was not the,
There's two intersections they're designing.
yes,
The-
they're designing two?
There's the roundabout
Okay.
at the construction entrance of when they were building the orchards. That's where they had that big Klein tank. It's right there where the gravel is now. This intersection is the one at Village over here. So that was gonna be a roundabout and this one's gonna be a signal. And that's currently in the scope that we're talking about with Sun Health. Those two intersections are part of the design plans.
Are you as confused as me?
I am, so Camelback and Village Parkway, that's not in their scope, or that isn't?
It is in their scope to do a traffic signal as of today.
Per the DA, Sun Health is responsible for the northern half of Camelback from Bullard Wash to Litchfield Road. And that would include the village signal. And it's,
So we're 50-50 like we are with the roundabout.
Right.
Okay.
but that being said, it's a three-legged red light. Sun Health isn't planning an entrance into their property at that site. So it would be three legs, east, west, south.
Okay.
So will this potentially slow down what they are doing?
We would have to make probably a decision because we have to go through the process of DCR and they're moving for final design and a kickoff like next week or within a couple weeks. They would continue with the signal and hopefully our DCR selection says signal and then we're matched up.
If I may. We have pressured them to get stuff done for so long. I don't want to slow them down in any way.
And I can tell you a roundabout at Village is going to require right of way. I can tell you right now, utility relocations, right of way. I'm not trying to dissuade you from it, but it's going to be a more intense because of all the existing improvements that are there.
We have three that we're trying to.
I think I messed the amendment up because we've always just talked about the light. We were talking about the underpass, which we already decided. Yeah, we're past the underpass. So the light is what we're always talking about at Village and Camelback. We're not talking about a roundabout there.
You could do either one, but we've been planning for a signal, sir.
Okay.
I think the mayor wants.
And
to
the
do it.
roundabout is where?
The roundabout, sir, is between Litchfield Road and Village.
Where there is no
Where
entrance
there's
right
no
now.
entrance.
It's gonna be a three-legged roundabout.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And then the other traffic light is the current entrance in alone. In Sun Health.
No, the other traffic light, sir, is at Village Parkway and Camelback. At Jack Robinson, sir.
Yes, okay. Okay.
Third one.
No, is that the other?
Villanueva.
Okay. Okay, Mayor, you want to talk? Mayor, go ahead.
I'm just trying to find the right spot. So yes, I just want to remind the council that we've actually been through this in minute detail, back when we originally made our agreements on the Camelback Road for where these traffic interchanges were going to be and what kind of interchanges they were going to be. On the cost of adding things like a roundabout at Village Parkway. So I would encourage you to stay with the plans that we've already agreed to from a policy standpoint, rather than trying to redesign this road at this late date. Because if we start changing this road, then we're going to change all the timing with Sun Health, and that's everything we've been working on for the last year and a half is to get this all approved so they have the money in their budget and they can actually get the engineering work done, and we can move Camelback along. As it turns out, according to Mr. LaRue, Camelback is, they realize how important Camelback is to them in terms of developing their project, because without Camelback done, the presentation of their project is going to be affected in a negative way. So I think we're becoming aligned with Sun Health to get this done. And so I hate to have the city become the thing to drag it down. And quite frankly, we literally have gone through all these arguments about the cost of adding a roundabout and decided it just is not in our budget. So I would urge you not to change the design through this process.
Okay, for what I'm hearing.
Question and vote on the current amendment or current motion.
Let's hold off a second, so it may be withdrawn. The motion in the second may be withdrawn from what I'm hearing. I think what I'm hearing is that we want to stay with what we've got on Camelback west of Litchfield Road. And your concern was to talk about maybe a roundabout at, if possible, at Villanueva and Camelback.
I would like to withdraw my motion.
Okay. And the second, that's okay with the second?
Perfect.
Okay, motion withdrawn, okay. So this here, this item deals only with the
Villanueva.
it deals with Villanueva and Village Parkway, the engineering proposals. So then I guess the question goes back to Camelback and Villanueva. What are you designing there? You're designing a traffic light?
So I think we built a signal at Village Parkway, but let's do a DCR for Camelback and Villanueva.
And do we include in that motion also the underpass
We
or?
already approved that.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's already, that's, okay.
Okay.
So I just said it wrong the first time, which I said I was going to get it wrong and I did. So,
Well, we worked it out.
so if I do it right this time, I'd like to make an amended motion to approve, or a motion to approve C with the amendment only that we do the DCR at Camelback and Villanueva. And that proceed forward with the engineering traffic signal at Camelback and Village Parkway. Is that better?
That's better. Do you feel the need to put a cap on it, sir, financially? I'm not saying you need to, I'm just asking.
Man, I think for a DCR of this caliber, it's not massively technical, but we would likely have to solicit for the engineering services.
And then come back to us.
And then we'll select one through a solicitation process and then negotiate for a contract, which you won't know the dollar.
And we're not gonna be doing Camelback between Dyser and Litchfield for quite a while, so this is something that's actually way out in the future, and you can continue on expediently doing everything west of Litchfield Road. Okay.
And we'll bring back proposals for DCR for Villanueva. That works for me.
Yeah. So did I.
Amended motion.
Yes.
Okay.
So Matthew, tell me what the motion is.
To be honest, I don't think you need one. I think we've got, well, let's do council staff direction to get proposals for a DCR for Villanueva and Camelback.
Okay, did I say that?
Yes.
And also you threw in there to approve this item C.
So I just need the second.
With that modification, yeah.
Second.
With the second.
Sure.
So Terry's not even here.
You got the motion.
You have the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you tell us what it is?
I have that you're amending it to include the DCR on the Camelback and Villanueva, and then the rest is to stay the same. No, not to exceed, you're not going to add that.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay, motion okay with a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, D. Pavement Management Construction Services. Who pulled this one?
I did.
Right.
I feel like I'm beating on you today.
So I'm used to it.
No, come on, I've been fair to you. I'm just concerned as I look at the map and having spent a lot of time on these roads in the last 4 or 5 months as we've gone through this process. We've got the 3 different segments of work that we're trying to do this year. And we've got massive cracks, I mean, big enough that bike tires could get stuck in just on fairway. And we're gonna crack seal that. And I mean, by allowing the road maintenance to skip a year or 2 years or not be at the level that it needed to be, our roads are in really bad shape. And I don't think the map that we have is concise as it needs to be for the amount of work that really is out there. We got really only 3 pieces that we're looking to pave, sagebrush on the 2 entrances over off Dyser. And we've got some of the small cul-de-sacs on the south side. But we've got really, I mean, crack sealing some of the stuff that we've got in here is not enough.
Councilmember Claire, so I do want to say that the maps that are in there are draft. They have been since revised. So these are the original maps, and since they're being revised, and there are additional ones. I just want to say that there are additional ones for the pavement replacement and mill and overlay. So those would be a little more beefy. On the areas where crack sealing, so the first thing I want to say is we technically only skipped 1 year of the pavement management because in 24 we did we spent all of our HERF money on mill and overlay Litchfield Road. Before that, in 23, I think we spent 900,000. Actually showed up on the financial report that we spent that. So we have been catching up from what it used to be back in the day. Before Woody was hired and he was a consultant, there wasn't a very good program, and then he's been beefing it up. So we are picking it up. Now, to your point, there are a lot of places where we don't have enough money to always just replace the road. So fairway is a good point. We're going to crack seal. We're going to put some slurry over the top. Everywhere we crack seal, by the way, we're going to put a micro seal or a PMM. So it'll have a double coat, and it extends the life another couple of years until it can get into the rotation for the full pavement replacement. So for instance, sagebrush, it's getting full of depth. That one just hasn't been, I looked back, I couldn't find the last time that got any action. And you can see, that's why we're gonna take it all out. We did that for Florence 2 years ago. In Florence Orange, and a portion of Fairway. And I looked back on those sections, those had gotten similar treatments where we did some crack seal the years before and put some slurry on until it got into the rotation of full pavement replacement. So that's the whole premise of the 10-year plan is we are identifying roads that are in such bad shape that we don't have $2 million, $3 million to do all the roads all at once. So we're putting them in a rotation and keeping them in a functional state. And when you put crack seal, I always put some kind of surface seal, not just leave crack seal.
I'm glad to hear that we've got a plan for that. I mean, we're seeing that there's a plan, but we don't have any detail on the plan. Do we have, somehow we missed budget, or we held money back because of we were planning for CIP in 24 that we didn't utilize the funds the right way.
Litchfield Square put us in the budget cap.
Absolutely. But we didn't come back and hit it right away. We've got to have a mechanism that allows us to utilize the funds that we have and make sure that we're always ahead of what we're looking to do. And my concern is that even if we made the budgetary decision as a council to hold off on using the HERF funds in that year, as a leadership of the city, we should have immediately been upon July 1, beginning the process of getting work done in the next fiscal year. And we didn't do that. And that's causing us to overlay. So I think from a leadership point of view, we need to make sure we're staying ahead. If we're doing something as a tactical measure to utilize funds a certain way, we need to be able to re-engage that right away. Do we have a plan within this 10-year plan for any new streets that are coming in? Is there a way to catch up and make sure if we take streets out? I mean, do we have something to make sure that we're catching modifications that we change the structure of the streets?
Councilmember, so that's a good point. So we do have, for instance, we have Litchfield Square streets are in the 10-year plan. So in a couple of years, they're going to get a fog coat. We replaced all the streets on Maya, Inca, and Tainter 2 years ago. That's in the rotation to get we're not going to do fog coat. It's going to be type 2 slurry. Fog coat's just spray paint, in my opinion. So we'll do a type 2 in a couple of years on those streets. We did all the streets in the Vista and the Verde circles, 2 years ago at the same time we did those. So all these streets that we're replacing asphalt in are getting in rotation to pick up on starting exactly what you're talking about. So we won't lose the street because we're always going to put a rejuvenation on it at the appropriate times.
So if we stay ahead, we're doing preventative maintenance to allow the streets to have a longer life. What about markings on the streets, the walkways, the road markings, is that part of this comprehensive plan as well, or is that a secondary? Because there are
blue stake markings. Is that the blue stake markings?
No, sir. I'm talking about the walkways. I'm talking about the directional arrows. I'm talking about we just had Public Works unfortunately go out and hit it with a roller and paint, and we've got crazy looking arrows in certain parts of town. The school crosswalks.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Is that part of this plan so that we're constantly ahead of where we need to be so that the city looks the way that it should.
Councilmember Claire, that every street that is going to get a pavement management applied will get new thermal. So everything we're doing in this is a little bit beefier than it's been. So we do a lot of PMM and micro sealing, and that all doesn't get painted, it all gets new thermal. So you're wiping out the existing striping that's there and then new thermal, which is the good stuff. The thermal is the hot applied and it won't go anywhere. So the guys won't have to go out and do any painting to keep it up. It'll be thermal, it'll be there. So everything that's getting microseal, mill and overlay, pavement replacement, or PMM type 2 is all getting new striping.
Okay, that's great for those, but we have so many other areas that are not on this plan, or that, I mean, are we waiting for a cycle of 10 years to go through, and or is there a 1, 2, 3 year cycle to go back and make sure that all the markings on the streets look right? Or is it a 10-year plan along with the roads? So if we let's look at the roundabout right here at downtown. There isn't a good marking on the crosswalks, on the directional arrows, on anything. And are we expecting that to be a 10-year plan to keep those looking fresh? Or is that something that we have a plan to do on a regular basis as routine maintenance?
Councilman Claire, that I've talked about, I've talked a little bit about it with Troy, I've talked with Matthew and Paige. We do have to create a capital project out of something like that. And if it's not capital, it's in the public works budget to where portions are getting updated as we go. We can't do it all at once. We probably could, it's just, time or money. So do we want to spend more money and get it all done at once? We want to come up with a phase plan that maybe has 1, 2, or 3 phases and do sections of the city. That's something we have to figure out, but it does have to be a routine item in the budget. And right now, I don't think we have that available exactly in that format.
And I would tell you that I think it needs to be a routine. I gave a list of 100 items in September. And a lot of those were crosswalks and roads and other issues of things that I saw in the city, and delivered that to the team to get done. And we're 5 months out from that, and we're still talking about a budget versus getting things done. So I don't feel there's a sense of urgency in trying to attack some of these items that need to get done. Having safe markings for our schools is important. Have safe markings for crosswalks is important. Those are the daily functions. People that live in the city deserve better. And we shouldn't have to wait 5 months to have a crosswalk put in, or to have a directional arrow put in. And then we don't have a plan. We now have a 10-year plan for the roads, but part of the roads is the markings to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. So I don't want to feel like I'm beating on you, but I do feel that we started this process in September and we don't have a comprehensive plan to get this done still. That's embarrassing.
I understand what you're saying, and I respect it, but we have put our staff under a massive burden with all the projects we've got going on that weren't a couple of years ago, we never saw these projects even happening. And so we've attempted to keep going on the normal functioning route and then throw all this stuff on top of them. Hopefully come August, we're going to have a bunch of these projects taken care of, and we're going to be back into our regular business. We can get a lot of this other stuff that we've kind of overburdened them with caught up.
Then we should have gotten back that we need additional staff.
That could have been a possibility.
Absolutely. That's what we should have done.
But we didn't, so we're
right at.
Yeah.
Understand.
Because they've been doing a phenomenal job trying to keep track of all this stuff and keep it.
I understand that we've burdened, and I'm a supporter of everybody that works for us and have tried to be that for the 6 years I've been on council. But I also have to say something if something's not being done right. So I appreciate all the work that's being done, but I feel we can do either have additional staff to get the support that you need to be able to be ahead and be proactive instead of reactionary. And that would be my recommendation to everybody in the any department. If you need more staff, ask for it. This council's here to support you. We shouldn't be having to hold our hands back to say that we can't do things because we don't have enough staff to do it.
The item on the agenda is a motion to approve the final design and a cooperative purchase contract with Roadrunner Paving and asphalt maintenance pursuant to a contract between Roadrunner Paving and one GPA cooperative at an amount not to exceed $600,000 to provide pavement treatments for various city streets and authorize the mayor to execute the required documents. The That's where we're at. Can we get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second. Second. Discussion on this motion?
I have a question. We have about $1 million of HERF money. How much do we have in?
We have 800 and something for pavement treatment, but we have more than that in HERF, right?
We allocated $1 million from her for the roundabout. And that left about 500,000 for road maintenance, and then we budgeted 300 in the general fund for roads.
So we've utilized all the funds in the HERF budget.
It's all budgeted for.
Any further questions or comments? Suzanne, we have a motion to approve the final design contract for $600,000, or to actually do the paving and asphalt maintenance for $600,000 for various streets as set forth in the agenda. Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And I think your point's well taken. We know where we need to go. We'd like to have more money. Okay, next on the agenda, that takes care of the consent agenda. Now we're down to city council meeting schedule.
I think maybe just to satisfy Ron's point, Matthew, could we potentially, the concerns that Councilmember Claire just brought up, could we add that as an agenda item for the next meeting to see where we're at with the progress of this hit list and the basic functions like he's talked about, like painted crosswalks, things like that? Because I think we all agree that, I mean, that we can't wait until next August to paint our crosswalks. So can we at least have that as a discussion item for next meeting?
Yes, we certainly can.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the city council meeting schedule. There's a request to cancel the July and December meeting and change the meeting date from August 19th to August 12th. Any questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I would rather have a December meeting
We
and not have a 5-hour meeting in January.
I agree.
Does anybody else
We
feel
can
the
talk
same
about that
way?
in October, November, but for now, we just need to set the meeting at the first of the year. So unless you want to try and pick a December date right now.
I don't know where I'll be, but if we're all available by Zoom, so, should be able to be attended.
City manager?
Mayor and Council, if you'd like to, we can always schedule a special meeting if you need one. And we can certainly do that in December, depending on what's going on. We generally cancel the December meeting because it's so busy for everybody. But again, if we need to schedule a special meeting in December, we can. That being said, if council wants to schedule a meeting for the third week in December, we can do that too. I don't know what the date is, so give me a second, I'll tell you.
December 16th.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Look for a special meeting if we need it.
I would
Yeah. We have a meeting scheduled in December in addition to our third, the first Wednesday.
Yes, but the intent would be to actually have the meeting.
Right, we can actually
Not
use it.
just be like, we can have this. I sound terrible. The intent would be to actually have a meeting, not just have the option for having the meeting and then canceling it. Because I do feel like there's a lot happening between November and January. And, we have a lot of projects going on right now. And so I think that sometimes it's better to just have the meeting rather than skip it so that we don't get 2 months worth of things all coming at once.
Right. Well, the difference between a regular meeting and a special meeting is reports. It's things that, like the reports, like all the reports we did tonight, those are part of a regular meeting. So if we're wanting to do just things like business that needs to be done, we can do a special meeting. But if we're wanting to see things like the regular monthly reports we do, then we should just schedule a regular December meeting, if that's what council wants to do. That's up to you guys. If you guys want to schedule a meeting for December 16th, we can.
I'm in favor of a meeting, but I understand that council may not wish to do that.
I think the idea of a special meeting, which would put less time into it and allow us to hit the things that are important that are happening, makes sense.
I think what I'm hearing is with the regular meeting, we're going to get the fire, police, all the standard reports in December, not get 2 of them in January. So the question is whether we have a meeting on December 16th, was it?
December 16th would be your regular meeting day if you hold a regular meeting, sir.
Okay, Mayor wants to speak. Oh, Mayor, you're on. Are we losing?
Just- I've got buttons.
Okay, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, December 16th, to me, if we want to schedule a regular meeting, it's fine. If we try to use the first Wednesday of the month, it's only a couple of weeks since we had the prior meeting, the meeting in November, which would be the 18th, I guess. So I'm not sure that we need another meeting in December, but if there's a feeling that we do need a regular meeting, then we can certainly schedule it, and then we can always cancel it in the future, can't we?
Being a majority of the one voice scheduled at the 16th meeting, so I think the motion is, thank you. I think the motion we're looking for is to cancel the July meeting, set the December meeting on the 16th, or maybe that's the regular day for the meeting. So we're not going to cancel the December meeting.
That's what I'm hearing, yes.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to cancel the July meeting and move the August 8th meeting to August 12th through the league conference.
Can I bring something up? The July meeting is right before all of our deadlines hit. Is that going to, the school opening, do we want to meet?
We can have a special meeting if we need.
That's true. Okay.
School-wise, you wouldn't have anything to approve as far as Hilltop projects. By then, they'll be about to open as far as business-wise goes. We just canceled July meeting because normally everybody's gone that month, just to be honest.
So can I have a motion canceling the July meeting and moving the August 19th meeting to August 12th?
So moved.
Second.
Making a motion made and seconded. Any other further discussion? Okay, call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, done. Call of the election. Terry, you want to give us a short version of what this is about?
Sure.
Yes, call of election is normally, it's not required by law anymore, but it's a good way of tracking purposes for the city. It also sets the dates of when the election will happen. Legislature may be changing this date from August 4th to July 30th. If that's the case, then deadline filings will move up a week. So.
You have resolution 26-598 in your packet. The resolution designating the election date, purpose of the election, form of the election, designating a deadline for voter registration, designating the place and the last date for candidates to file nomination papers. Any further discussion?
So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mayor, I presume you're voting aye unless I hear otherwise.
Aye.
Okay, item. Thank you, Mayor. Next item is approval of attorney rate increase. These rates that the attorney has asked for, being in that business, I believe are extremely reasonable. I would recommend that we approve these.
So moved. Second.
A motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I was just gonna point out, we use a lot of steel and steel prices.
Yeah. Okay, option 26-597, citywide fee schedule. Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. This is a new fee. It would be for traffic control plans. Some special events within the city are growing and are requiring a traffic control plan. Staff looked at other surrounding cities, so we would be comparable to their traffic control plan fees. And so this would be a new fee added to our schedule. What spurred this conversation as public parking becomes smaller, as Litchfield Square develops, traffic control plans will start to become more important.
Questions, comments? I have one. Who is this going to affect?
Defer to the city manager or city engineer exactly, who it will affect.
We currently don't take traffic control plan fees from contractors that work in our roadway. It's a no fee permit. However, it does take a lot of time from inspection staff, myself, we go out and make sure that they have the setup for MTC and Kingsbury Manual, all that. And then it also requires the contractor adheres to safety standards. There's a lot of reasons to enforce it. The other thing that's kind of a good effect that we learned from Avondale is when you put a fee on it, they don't just leave the traffic control out for a month.
They don't leave the what out?
There's some
Traffic control.
Traffic control, equipment, barricades.
Cones,
Like we did Indian School in Dysart, and Avondale was trying to charge us $200 a day per lane for a quarter mile. It was gonna be like $7,000 because we had 98 days in charge of that. You imagine the contractor for 3 week project was gonna be $7,000. This is fees.
So you're talking about this applying to street contractors and such. My question really, is it going to affect, are you faster than a scout, the scout race? Is it going to affect the fishing derby? Is it going to affect anything else, any of the nonprofits, anybody else out there?
We don't have to charge ourselves fees for our own events. We also can choose to waive them for things like that. So,
But what about if the scouts do a presentation? Millennium wants to do their parade through our downtown, their homecoming parade. Is there going to be a fee charged to those nonprofits for those kind of things?
that again, the schedule does address that, but like we do with various other entities, for instance, the school, Dollar Creek High School, RDA doesn't allow us to charge a fee for anything without no permits. So we have the option to not charge. What we really want to do is recoup costs for these contractors that are out in the street for days and weeks, doing things like, jackhammering, asphalt paint all over the place, leading them to slurry. When they do these things, they leave these traffic control these equipments out. It causes trouble. It causes damage. I've seen so many of them get hit, so it recoups some of our costs just for that.
So in essence, we're putting a fee in for the contractors that they're just gonna bill back to us in additional cost for the project to get done.
If it's a city project, if it's a city event, yes, and that's the other reason why you don't charge yourself a fee, because you're just gonna get it back. For a contractor like Cox, who's doing a lot of work out here, they're gonna have a couple $100 per traffic plan, and that's normal in any city. Every project I've ever done in every city has traffic plans. We're probably the only one I've ever seen.
So like if the Wigwam is having an event like we just did and they've got trucks dropping off equipment for grandstands and such, are we charging them a fee while the truck's parked there?
There is a schedule on there for that that's a good example. If they're dropping off equipment and they don't meet the 1 hour cutoff, they can have cones and they can have things done. So if you work in a right of way for 1 hour, for instance, you can have an airboard truck. A lot of it for potholing, for simple things that are getting done real quick. We don't charge a fee for that. But if it's something where they've got to park a semi out there for a week, then, and it's not a daily fee either. I gotta go back.
If I'm hearing correctly, it's more of get your equipment and get out type nuisance that you were trying to eliminate, right?
That's an added bonus. What it is whenever we have traffic control in our right of way, my inspector goes out there, public works goes out there, they spend time and it costs, I pay our inspector as a contract inspector, he's gotta go look at traffic control. So when I pay him to do that, we get nothing back, right? So we're fronting that cost, and that's something we shouldn't have to, there's contractors doing work in the right of way. And again, we're all over the valley, I think we're the only city that's not charged a fee for traffic.
How often would you say this happens?
Every day I approve traffic control plans almost every day.
Okay, we have a resolution before us, amending resolution 25-589, updating citywide fee schedule, engineering department traffic control fees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion made and second. Further discussion, questions, comments? Mr. Vesper.
Keith, just to be clear, you or I would have the discretion to waive the fees for nonprofits if needed or requested.
We do, we have the discretion.
Okay, we'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have one nay. Are there any other nays?
I think I'm abstaining.
What's that?
I had a question, but I didn't get a chance to ask it
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
before
see
you
your
made the
hand up.
motion. Is that okay? Can I still ask
Oh, usually
it?
the motion needs to be made and seconded, then you do the questions and comments, because if you don't get a motion, you don't bother discussing it. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Like, if somebody drops off a pile of gravel in the street, is that something they need traffic control for? Just to be clear, like, because that's what I see a lot of.
Technically, they're not allowed to drop off crap. So by the time code enforcement gets there, and makes them do something, they've already put it on where it has to go.
Okay.
So in those exact situations, we make cones out or else, green and we'll run and take it.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that because I could see people being affected by that too.
Short, it's not meant to, so the person who's gonna do like an hour's worth of work, the Phoenix Hurricane Manual allows us to do simple traffic control. That protects you on low and flying roads. So cones, ribbons, caution tape, a truck with an arrow board. Those guys aren't gonna be affected. It's the ones that are boring or cutting across our street or tearing up, whatever to get a utility ground. And they're moving the road over. They're causing more damage that they're helping.
I understand. Yeah. I'm sorry. Please, Vice Mayor. I'm ready.
You're right. Okay. We had a motion, we had a vote that looked like 6-1. Is there?
Yes,
You're.
I am an aye on that
Okay,
vote.
so it is 6-1. Okay. Okay. Item E has been asked to be pulled from the agenda by the city manager.
Thank you, sir.
We're at F, approval of final Hilltop Park design. This sounds like a big long one. Be fast.
3 minutes.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, thank you for having me. This item 8F, Hilltop Park is recommendation for approval of the final park design. You know the background. You know it, you love it. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to have this done. I got my hair cut in anticipation of tonight's meeting because this is the last step of the design process. This is a look at the big picture. I've got little pictures in the upcoming slides that zoom in for you. As far as the hocus pocus test, and I'm sorry because there's probably going to be a conversation that comes from this, but I appreciate any and all time you can afford me. The hocus pocus from last time you saw this to this time you see it is really just the playground. The playground originally was next to the public works yard, which was next to the bathroom, which was next to the terrace in an area somewhat confined and contained. Essentially, we have different nodes of programming on the terrace, the bandstand, the gardens, the museum, the event space. So the thought at the time last year was to keep the playground as another node that's independent. Council direction at the end of last year was to move the playground and move it close to the library. So that is the main shift. And I'll go to the next slide just so you can see this up close. So per your direction, we have put the playground incorporated into the event space, the stage area right next to the cottages, next to the library. At the DRB meeting, there was no changes to this. However, at RPG, there was a lot of potty talk. That is a terrible pun because there was a lot of concern about the adjacency of the playground to bathroom facilities. The immediate solution was that the museum and library are somewhat close by. However, there's no guarantee that those facilities are available at times that people are at the playground.
Where are the bathrooms out, the outdoor bathrooms on this plan?
And on the particular sheet you're seeing, there aren't any within this vicinity. I'll go back to the big page. There is one bathroom planned behind the bandstand, another next to the public works yard, the top left, as well as one on the terrace that is somewhat of a wedding prep idea area. Another thing to note, and this comes up in our next agenda item, is this is the ultimate build out. This is not reflective of phase one, and I think we'll get to that conversation in the next agenda item.
This is the only change to the last plan we saw was moving the playground.
Vice Mayor, and a couple of little nuances related to protection in place of the pump house next to the reservoir, protection in place of the footbridge. These are per the PW Litchfield Heritage Center Friends, as well as just additional sidewalk paths that we had ADA dead ends. Now we have ADA contiguity across the entirety of the site. To your point, I can breeze through the rest of the presentation, but I wanted to make sure that it was noted that RPG supported the overall plan with the caveat that the playground was not where they wanted to see it because of the adjacency and availability of bathrooms, as well as the adjacencies to parking. So while we've shifted location based on council direction last year, RPG's determination of the last meeting I had with them was that this is not the right place. Just to finish the circle around, and I'll take questions from you. This area, which did have the playground facilities and a couple little grass areas for the dog, for the Frisbee, have been removed. This was a net reduction of another 4,000 square feet of grass that has been lessened on the site. Again, we're just focusing on the terraces, the bandstand, and the event space. The rest of this site remains as we've shown in many presentations over the past several months. Again, here at the southwest corner, as is with the Desert Garden and the Rose Garden for Florence, the access points onto the Sunset Terraces are in turf for celebrations. Moving to the southeast corner, this is all the Performing Arts Center, which we know we're very excited about, and the Heritage Center, which is, you know, in the their grass, not our grass, in their contained lease area. All of this is, you know, is social, cultural, and historical, and based on the dedication language and all of Welly's feedback to, you know, Horatio and, you know, Woody Thomas back in the day when this all started in 2002, 2003 timeframe. This is all reflective of the many surveys and boards and commissions that we've had, and I'd ask for an approval of the final park designs pending your conversations and questions. Thank you. Yes.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I didn't like it when the comment was to move it the last time. Because I liked it where it was. This looks like a terrible place for a playground, right in the middle of a concert that's going on with a bunch of kids playing next to it, with cars going in and out that are pointed right at the playground if somebody screws up. You know, where it was before by the bathroom was a great place for it, I thought. Now that I see it on there, I'm even more against it.
Okay.
Can I register?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in Georgia, I always hate to come back to that, but in Georgia, where my daughter lives, there is a space that looks almost exactly like this. And they use the stage all the time, not necessarily for big name concerts, but, you know, lots of little things. Like we were there Halloween, and there was someone was playing the music from The Wizard of Oz, and the Wizard of Oz characters were all walking around. And the playground was perfect because when the kids got restless, there was a place for them to go, and mom and dad could watch them from sitting on the grass enjoying the music. So while I see your point, I think this works out pretty well. And I think that when we start looking at how we're going to use the cottages, one of these cottages, the one that maybe we decide to make more of an admin building for our police, maybe some bathrooms, maybe a place eventually where events, where we have someone who's a coordinator for the events is housed. I think we could maybe work some outside access into restrooms at that point in time and be able to use that building in that way. I just think parents are going to want to bring their kids to the library. And I know when my kids were little, if I had we're going to go check out books and we'll get ice cream afterwards, they would go. If, you know, if there's a park to play at afterwards, they'll go. I just think it makes this area more family friendly. Just my opinion.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I'm gonna be Scrooge. I'm gonna say the same thing I said in the last meeting is I don't think this area begats a playground. I don't. We have so many playgrounds throughout the city, so many other places to do that if that's what we want to do. This is a botanical gardens that's similar to what Phoenix is. We don't need to add a playground to everything that we do. We have tons of playgrounds throughout the city and we're putting more, but there doesn't need to be one here. I think it's a risk where it's at. I don't like the playground on this project.
Any other questions, comments?
Where's the retention wall?
Everywhere.
So is that retention wall in place east of the playground?
Yes, thank you for the question, council member. So you can see Little Peacock on the main entry drive as you come in. Directly south of that, you can see, I meant to put it actually. Oh, look at me. There's a no man's land in this tan color intentionally to ensure that the playground has a buffer zone of, unfriendly things, as well as some of our equipment before that location of the retaining wall. That staircase has been a conversation ongoing as of 2 o'clock this afternoon. I was talking with the architect. The idea is that the stairs and the slope of the earth work together so that you aren't falling out of the staircase. It is just part of the makeup of that area as well. And just again to clarify the request for you this evening, I've broken it completely. The request for you this evening is to approve these designs. Now, in the next item, what phase 1 is for your discretion. What you see is not part of phase 1. So if there is a desire to change or change things in the future, I would say to you ahead of that, I would say to that ahead of you that the playground is not anticipated with phase 1 costs. So that would not be something that is installed today as to Councilmember Claire's mistake, or to Councilmember Claire's point, a mistake to put in now. And I believe the mayor would like to speak.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to say, I wasn't sure when I looked at what phase 1 was going to include, but so I'm happy to hear that it's not intended to include the playground, because I share the concern that playground in that spot is not a very good spot. And I also, quite frankly, share the concern that Councilman Claire voiced, that do we really need a playground for what this park is going to be? So to me, I would be happy with the plan, but making the playground be an optional thing that the council would consider at a later date based upon the feedback we get from people who actually use this park. Do we find that we really need a playground, that's something people are asking for? I think there's going to want to be a restroom, quite frankly, near the event area. If you're going to have a bunch of adults there watching events, they probably aren't going to want to have to hike a half a mile or quarter mile to a restroom. So, the restroom, I think, is going to be needed whether the playground's there or not. So that would be the 2 comments I had. That the plan, I like the plan, but I would add a restroom in that area one way or the other, and maybe it's true use of something at one of the 2 cottages, and I would make the playground something that is optional to be decided in the future.
Thank you.
I agree. I think that it's going to take a while to figure it out, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do with these cottages. Maybe it's a staging place for weddings. So it just seems like as long as we don't approve the playground, we can always add a playground at any point in time. We don't have to do it now. We can do it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So I think we're all kind of leaning that way. It's saying the same thing.
I think I'm hearing a majority say that the playground doesn't have to be in this plan right now. Maybe it doesn't have to be in that spot, and we can figure that out later, and we can move forward with the plan approval, subject to deletion of the playground for now. Yes, ma'am.
I just have one question, Randy. And I'm not sure if it's now or at the next item, but now that the design plans are final for this park, do you have an idea of how much it would cost to implement that design?
Yes.
Would you please regale us?
Council member, I hesitate to tell you, and it's even written as such in the next agenda item. The initial cost estimate, not by Keith, but by our consultant engineer, was approximately 5 million for the ultimate thing of what you see in front of you.
And that includes the public works building, the different bathrooms, the playground. So to have an executed park as in the picture that you just had up would cost a total of $5 million.
As of January 21st, 2026.
Or it could be different, but
Yes.
as of today. Okay, thank you for that.
And to Keith's point in the back, that is unsubstantiated by any contractor. That is just the engineer's probable cost of estimate, whatever the fancy way you say that. OPC, OMG.
I'm gonna pick on Randy's caveat a little bit there, that ballpark number is for today's date. If we end up providing this park in a 3 phases, which we probably will, and we wait a year to build phase 2, wait a year to build phase 3, that 5 million will turn into 8. I think that's important for future discussion.
Let's, we've kind of melded into item G, which is a contract also, so maybe we can work both of these together. Does that contract, where does this parking lot come from? Is that in the library contract?
Vice Mayor, if I be maybe as bold, would you like to discuss item G before taking a vote on item F?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Okay, I will present both. And I will answer your question as we go through this really quick. Phase 1, the contractual stipulations that we have with Agua Fria to beautify the site is landscaping, hardscaping, I mean sidewalks, when I say hardscaping, utilities, you gotta water the shrubs, and the external restorations of the cottages. What we mean by that with cottage 2 and 3 is take down the boards, take off, the barbed wire fencing, paint them, make sure all the roof tiles are back on. Not restoration, but just enhancement, I guess, a fresh coat of paint. And the fire lane. The fire lane is key as well, that wraps the entire size. What that is, as of now, is approximately 2.5 million. Again, the engineer's OPC that we have asked contractors to vet and verify. 1B, we're calling it, could be the playground, a restroom or 2, the bandstand restorations, and the parking lot, to answer your question. We believe that the parking lot that serves the high school theater, as well as public use, as well as the library, would be more than enough for any initial park attendees to go enjoy the gardens and the terraces. Phase 2, or the third portion, to Matthew's point, would be a much more substantial public works storage area, the Ramadas and restroom 2 or 3, depending on how you look at the one on the terrace on the west end of the site. So we need to be cognizant and certainly address our contractual stipulations as far as getting the shrubs, the rock, the hardscape, the fire line into the ground. The 2.5 estimate, please keep in mind, between the school's contribution of sales tax, construction sales tax, as well as Supervisor Hickman's gift in this sort of thing, our out of pocket is greatly reduced. If we think about all of that contribution, library costs are minimal to the city. The park costs are minimal to the city with the factor of the sales tax from the high school project. So though 2.5 may seem very large, you take away those contributions we get, it's much less, I'd say. But the other thing we want to be very cognizant of is we anticipate somewhere between 2.1 and 2.5 from the construction sales tax of the school. And we want to acknowledge the contract and use that wholly to do this phase one improvements to address, using the park. And certainly we're going to have 400 high schoolers there at all times, the museum patrons and the library patrons. So I think that addresses everything in the way we have previously discussed. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I think that was a good way of addressing that.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, you received an email yesterday that I sent out about the funding here. And just to wrap that up, so basically you're talking about $8 million in expenses between the library and the park work, et cetera. However, you got $5 million from county. You're going to get roughly 2.1 from the Arbor Freer project. That of course is 7.1, and you're spending 8. So if you look at it that way, it's effectively about $1 million. And for that, you're getting the library, you're getting phase one of the Hilltop Park. And overall, for the Hilltop as a whole, you're easily getting a $80–85 million investment in this project. So we look at it that way, it's much better, right? It's something to celebrate. But again, that's for phase one. That's
Phase one includes no bathroom. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. So, switch turn again.
Okay, so just getting started, basically to reiterate what Matthew just went through, the city is going to be out of pocket less than $1 million when this thing is completed through the phase one park and all the construction up there. And once we receive the construction sales tax, and we're going to have an asset that has just been invested. The investment in the asset is $100 million. So we literally are paying 1% for this asset. And we're going to have an asset in the form of that Performing Arts Center that is going to produce substantial sales tax revenue by itself. There will also be businesses from around it, built around it, that will be dinner places and other things, that retail type shops that will end up being built by, in the Sun Health facility, Sun Health campus, and the facilities that we're going to have down Litchfield Square that will benefit anytime there's a large production going on at that Performing Arts Center. That will be additional sales tax. So this is an investment, but it's a very small dollar investment for a very huge investment in our community that will change the landscape for us financially from this activity, and it will change the way Litchfield Park is looked at as a place to do business, as a place to live. It's, this is an unusually good project for for this hilltop. It's a tremendous home run. So I would urge council to look at this as, the 2.5 million for this park is a lot of money, but 2.1 million of it is going to come from construction sales tax that we would not have if it were not for the fact that we agreed to to clean up this park and make it a park. So I would urge you to support this.
Mayor, I totally support this, but I think my question is, why aren't we doing the whole thing at one time? You're talking about a massive asset. It's going to cost us about $1 million, or another couple of millions, total about $3 million. We can have the entire park done all at once and really have a nice project. Do we not have that funds? We have it earmarked for something else. We have an economy of scale. It's cheaper to build it all at once and to come back in and build it piecemeal.
Mr. Vice Mayor, it's a great idea. We would love to build the whole thing at one time. The city has the money to build it, of course. I would tell you that we haven't recommended that yet because we're not ready for that yet as far as proposals to do phase one. Randy, would you like to further?
Can I ask a question first? Get into these spaces. Can you go back to the map? Number one, it's unacceptable to open a public park without a public restroom. So phase one, we got to have a public restroom. You cannot open anything to the public without a restroom. Show me on this map what phase one is, because I'm unclear as to how many trees, how many bushes, how many sidewalks, how many terraces I'm getting in phase one.
Councilman Frazier, that is an excellent point, and I apologize to you for not considering having that prepared. So every shrub tree sidewalk, fire lane, and the ADA parking that's at the fire truck turnaround in the center of site. Excuse me. Is included. These spaces. What is not included in phase one is this restroom behind the bandstand, this restroom or wedding prep center on the terrace, the Ramada on the reservoir or tank, as some know it, the restroom and public works yard at the north end, as well as the 139 shown parking spaces. These are not, I'm sorry, and the playground, as we know, as well as canopy above the stage. That's something very similar to Litchfield Square Park, where we do anticipate a stage area. Phase one would not include the shade over that. So those are all items that we don't think, again, that we don't think we can afford, as far as if we should only focus on the use of the construction sales tax generator.
Okay, so I mean, it's a beautiful park, and we're getting a lot in phase one. You gotta include the bathrooms. You know, we can wait on the Ramadas, we can wait on the canopy for the stage covering. We can figure out a way to utilize parking in a dirt lot if we need to for a while. We can wait on a playground. It looks like 95% of the usable space is done in phase one. I think you have to find funding for those bathrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Randy, to that question, obviously you're much more involved in this than I am. If we wanted to build, I would agree. Councilman Frazier, I agree 100% on your bathroom comment. But before I say this, just understand there's some residents that won't. Because there's no park at Scout, there's no restroom at Scout Park today. But we should have them. Different conversation, anyway. Randy, give me a number. So we're asking for council to approve 2.5. What would you be comfortable with the number? What would you be comfortable to include the bathrooms in phase one? To Councilman Frazier's point. For example, would you call it 3 million? I'm totally spitballing. I don't know. I don't know that you do either.
City Manager Williams. We started to engage a prefab designer who believed that they could create the look and feel of Litchfield Park in a prefab for approximately $300,000. That is just the building. So that's not me pouring the concrete pad and running the plumbing. We do plan to stub out all the plumbing with that phase one cost of that 2.5. So if we needed to pour a foundation and utilize a prefab option, which is very common in parks, think state parks, national parks, not the hole in the ground. This is running water, bottle filling stations. It's white, it's stucco, it has the S-tile roof. It's used very much in California. It seemed to make a lot of sense for us. The hesitation of us going forward with that, with this phase, was because it's prefab, it has to go through state review as a prefab structure, which is about a 10-month lead time to get through permitting with them. So if to Matthew's point, if we wanted to round up that number to 3, then we can do so with a prefab. As we know, with the Litchfield Square bathroom, we don't intend to do that size again, but that was a very expensive bathroom. And if we wanted to do something of that caliber, we would need to re-budget this phase one to be something like 3.5 million.
We don't need $1 million bathroom.
Okay.
But we need bathrooms.
The bathroom in Litchfield Square was $1 million.
I didn't say that.
Probably.
I don't, what was the final cost?
8 without the utilities.
Yeah.
You have the mayor online again?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor.
I just wanted to say that there's time is of the essence in getting this first phase approved. So if we want to add bathrooms, we want to add stuff to it, we can do that as we go forward over the next couple of months. But we need to get this part of it moving if we're going to have it done in time for the grand opening. So if we can support the basic design and the basic trees and, you know, with taking out the playground, and then come back and revisit the issue, get some more information about placing 1 or more bathrooms in here, we can always add that in, and it's not gonna add a significant extra cost by waiting a month or 2 to order these bathrooms. But we've got to get the rest of it, we've got to get the rest of it approved and a process started to get it built or it won't be done.
Mayor, do you have any comments on maybe just doing the whole 5 million, doing the whole thing at once?
My concern is we can always approve another $2 or $2.5 million, but I would much prefer to have it in a budget spreadsheet that's part of a plan. We have in the plan right now, we have the $2.5 million. And I'd like to see the plan be modified and we look at it, in a calm setting, and then we'll make that decision. So we may very well have the money to do it, but I think we need to make sure how it impacts the other things we need to do in the park.
Yeah, my concern is you go in there and you improve this entire area here, and then we're going to come back in later and start trenching for, across this park for utilities.
Phase one would include.
Be included in the infrastructure.
Phase one includes
For the bathrooms?
Vice Mayor.
All the way to the bathrooms?
Yes, all very similar to the pad that's waiting for bathroom 2 in Litchfield Square Park.
Yeah.
Every pad for future bathrooms is considered and has the plumbing and water, sewer, electric to all of these locations as part of phase one.
It's done in phase one.
Okay, so everything's ready to go except for the buildings themselves. The prefab building's not gonna work because it's gonna take 10 months. We need to find a contractor to do it. So to be able to have this function, but we need to do this in order to be able to time. And maybe have a contractor on the hook.
Is there anybody that has any objections on spending the $2.5 million?
No.
And without the park?
I need more of an explanation. I need to understand on August 6th, what exactly the vision is. What we're going to have a library and a school, and we're going to do groundbreaking, but we're going to have half a parking lot with 139 stalls not developed, correct? So we want to have the rocks done by then and moved. But where's the Litchfield House going to be at in the Heritage Center? Where are they going to be at on August 6th?
Yes, sir.
Where I guess I don't have a problem with it. I just want to understand.
You're talking about DA requirements.
Yeah.
So as far as the hilltop goes, as far as the park, so we have to have the hilltop to phase one standards when the library opens, which is the greens restored, the landscaping restored, all that kind of thing. The bandstand doesn't have to be done by then. The bathrooms have to be done by then. But it has to look nice. It has to be green, again, trees, grass. The landscape work has to be done. That's in the DA document. As far as the Historical Society goes, they have to have the outside of the house done. I want to say it's in mid-July, or we do it ourselves. The houses have to be done inside, but the outside has to be done so it looks nice. So it won't be, the Historical Society will not be open yet, but the outside will be done.
So I think what's important to understand is contractually, we're obligated.
Yes.
To get this done, and that's why the mayor is saying we need to get this approved,
Yes.
and we can fine tune the details along the way. Is that a fair?
That's correct.
We need to agree to a contract for $2.5 million to meet our contractual obligations.
I think the mayor said,
I have one question.
The only thing I would say that needs to be changed in the motion is that we do need to have, we're going to need to have a restroom down in that event area. So we need to plan out where is that restroom going to be so that we can put the utilities and the undergrounds into that restroom ahead of time. So we don't tear up the event area trying to build something down there.
Sorry if I could make the comment. I think the solution for Cottage 2 as a bathroom facility would be the most expeditious as far as timing as buildings there.
It would be.
One more question is planning schedules. So you get to late April, May, June. I would highly recommend against, I'm not the landscaper, planting anything. That ground temp will be 95 degrees, everything will die. So realistically, what is the construction schedule for this? And how are we going to get things planted by late May so that they don't all die?
Councilman Frazier, you're exactly correct, which is why we have this for you tonight, so that I can have this authorization once we have, the contractor has the full set of plans to pay them to go. We have a big pile of dirt in the way still too, but Susie and I are going to figure that out together. But yes, to your point, the later you wait, the more water I'm wasting trying to salvage those sorts of things. We always do have warranties with those sorts of situations, but we don't want to have to constantly replace those either. No one wants that cost. I do have the smartest landscape architect in the valley, in the state behind this project, but I think you can see the urgency of this conversation so that I can move forward as quickly as possible.
So to move this forward,
yes,
we approve the Hilltop design, less playground. We approve the Hilltop Park contract, the $2.5 million. That gives you the start. Gives you the start stuff you need to get moving forward. And you can come back to us maybe at the next meeting or the meeting after, talk about a bathroom addition and maybe what it would cost to finish out, do this whole thing all at once. Paige can figure out whether we've got the money to go ahead and spend $5 million to do the whole thing and get it finished.
Vice Mayor, that is an excellent summary. And yes, all of that is possible. Bless you. And I'd be happy to entertain a motion of bless you.
You can entertain the motion after I ask my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The timing of the sales tax revenue, how will that compare to the outlays that are going out for this 2.5?
So there's about a 2-month lag.
Okay.
So the money will go out probably before we collect it, but in the end it will balance out.
Okay. And then I understand that we're not, so right now, as it stands, Randy, you're only asking for $2.5 million to cover the cost of phase 1, not 1B or 2. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And if we move forward with approving this tonight, when would we expect you to come back to council for 1B and 2?
Is the council's discretion of how quickly we would like to
Is
move
it going to
those?
be, okay, because I would like to kind of nail down the plan for that too. Like, I don't want to just get ahead of ourselves. I want to make sure that we're doing this thoughtfully and orderly and systematically. And so I think I am fine with moving forward tonight with the 2.5 and knowing that we are, we only have a 2-month lag, so we're not like, gonna put ourselves in a solvency situation, which is not gonna happen, but that's something that I did think about. And I just want to make sure that we're being deliberate about it.
I've encumbered $3.5 million for it already.
Okay.
So we're definitely covered in the cash.
Paige, do you have any calculations of what you think this event center is going to bring in?
I don't yet. I need to get more details on it.
So should we put together the motion to get this initial process approved?
Less the playground.
Less the playground.
Does the playground design really affect anything with the plan?
Councilmember James, to your question, I'm still showing you an ultimate build out. You are approving the ultimate build out. However, as we approve discretions to contract for construction, those line items were all broken down in that sort of conversation. So
yeah, you're going to be building the bare bones part. Yeah, putting in all of the fluff later. Mayor?
I would just like to add into your motion that, that this phase, if nothing else happens in this phase, we're going to put a restroom in that area where the event center is. Maybe it goes somewhere close to where that playground is proposed, but there definitely needs to be a restroom planned for in that area somewhere on that event center, and the utilities have put in as part of this phase 1. Whether we get the restroom built or not, we can talk about, but the utilities have to be put in so we don't have to tear the thing up to put it in later, because it's definitely going to be needed.
So the motion is you get the phase 1, deleting the playground equipment, finding us a bathroom.
But adding us a bathroom, correct.
those can also be part of your motion for G, as far as what that 2.5 million includes. With here on F, if we're still satisfied with the overall vision of the ultimate build out, just as a concept, you're welcome to leave it as is. If we are 100% positive that that playground will be deleted, then yes, if you'd like to include that with your motion to delete that as part of the final conceptuals.
So for F, I'd like to make a motion that we approve as is without the playground and a bathroom being added to the stage area.
A motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think we're making a mistake, not including something for younger citizens. The families, I think that having a place where you can take your kids and sit and enjoy, even just sitting in the sunshine with friends and talking while the kids are playing is important. And I think we're gonna limit ourselves to the fuddy-duddy crowd.
If we're wrong, we can always go back and add it.
I think what we're doing is we're building a bare bones park with
I
no
get that. I
parking
understand.
lot, no canopy for this, no handstands, no. There's a lot of neat stuff in here. And we're building trees and pathways right now, it sounds like.
I get it, I understand, I think it's something that needs to be there. And I think it fits within the gift and what they requested, because it's exercise for children. You can build all sorts of stuff, but that's okay. Go ahead, we have a motion.
Okay.
But to her point is, we can do what we need to do, and we can have this fight at a later city council meeting if
Yes.
we want to have a playground. because
Sometime
I
it's
think
not close to
everybody-
midnight, yeah.
So, I agree with it, but for what we need to do, and we need to do it, we're up against the wall.
So the first motion was to approve the final hilltop design without the playground and to add a bathroom somewhere. That motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. The second item is the Hilltop Park contract. To authorize, this isn't to approve a contract, it's to authorize staff to negotiate and approve a contract to construct an amount not to exceed 2.5 million.
And to sign the contract.
That's phase one. Okay, so moved. Motion, I have a motion.
He said, and to sign the contract.
To sign the contract, but we're only talking about phase one.
Yeah.
Correct, sir.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, so I got a motion and I got a second.
Second.
Okay, further discussion on the motion.
What is the amount that's in the motion?
2.5 million.
2.5 million for now.
All right.
We're deleting the playground, adding the bathroom.
Right.
The playground is probably a $200,000 event. That may be higher.
Yeah, we're gonna end up potentially having to have a supplemental to this, but we can get
Things started.
Yes,
the time running.
yes. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Check off the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, and I believe we do need the executive session.
Yes, sir, we do.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Before we make that motion? There were some takeaway items, related to our work study session and some action items that I'm just wondering, being that it's 10:30 and people are a little bit wired, can we potentially consider tabling the executive session and doing a February 6th meeting to address it then, or does it have to happen now?
It has to happen now.
It should happen now,
Unfortunately.
or tomorrow, or the next day, but.
I'm good tomorrow too.
Yeah. Hopefully we make it fast.
I'll try.
Okay, so have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are in executive session.
It's getting a.
Is over. Open the regular meeting. Unlock the door, somebody.
You get to adjourn. Gavel is home.
I don't have to have a motion to adjourn, do I?
We just sling that gavel. You sling the gavel.
Nobody out there? Okay, this meeting, what's that? You ready? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Fair.